I, Mayor Matt Girding, call the April 7th, 2025 City Council meeting for the City of Somersworth to order. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Pepin.
Yep.
Vincent.
Here.
Gibson.
Here.
Parity Catanzaro. Here. Michaud.
Yeah.
Witham.
Here.
Goodwin.
Here.
Cameron. Here. Barry.
Here.
Councilor Vincent will lead the council in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next on the agenda is the recognition of our Indigenous people, our Native Ancestral Americans. This meeting takes place on Indokina, which is the unceded traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples past and present. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land, waterways, living beings, and the Alnabuk, the people who have stewarded Indokina throughout the generations. Item 4 on the agenda are any scheduled public hearings. We have 6 this evening, and seeing that we have a great large turnout, I just want to ask members of the public to please try to keep your comments brief so everyone gets an opportunity to speak. Also, please try to, as best as possible, not repeat amongst folks. So like if somebody else says something and you agree with it, you're welcome to just get up and say, I agree with what that person said. Or like, I agree about this point. It just saves us a little bit of time. But again, I will ask that you at least try to keep things within 5 minutes. That's our normal public comment council rule. And so certainly do your best, all right? I thank you all for understanding too, because there's a lot of you and we have a long night ahead. So first up is Ordinance 15-25, which is to amend Chapter 13, Police Offenses, Section 4, Dogs, regarding revised definitions to include dogs at large. Is there anyone here wishing to speak towards Ordinance 15-25? Anyone towards Ordinance 15-25? Okay, we will close the public hearing on Ordinance 15-25. Next up, probably why everyone's here, is Ordinance 16-25, which is fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. Is there anyone here to speak this evening towards Ordinance 16-25? Yes, I see a hand. Anyone come on up if you're, yeah, we're gonna maybe have to form a line. Thank you. Again, for the record, if you could please state your name and the ward in which you live.
Richard Brooks, 18 Linden Street, Ward 1. The budget. Nobody looks forward to this season. You, the councilors, are tasked with making tough decisions. And we, the residents, are nervously waiting to see how much our taxes are increasing, because they never decrease. In fact, many years our taxes increase nearly 5%, which in reality doubles our taxes in 15 years. This trend outpaces the average person's wages. The city budget is also a whole different procedure than household budgets or even business budgets. The city and school simply say, we want this, we want that, and we, the taxpayers, are rewarded by paying whatever that number is. This is the complete opposite of how the real-world household and business budgets work. We instead look at our income and then decide what we must have and hope we have funds left over to support growth, as well as surprise expenses that come, such as unprecedented reassessments. With those reassessments, businesses realized an average assessment increase of only 55%, in many cases, a lower increase than residential properties experienced. This disparity results in a tax decrease for business properties. Why have businesses experienced a decrease in value? Less demand. Look around, nearly every long-term family-owned business has closed up shop, and few new businesses are surviving beyond a few years. Small business budgets are simply not supporting their existence. Do taxes play into that equation? Sure. It increases their mortgage or rent, and local residents likewise have less disposable income for the same reason. Businesses and individuals alike are finding themselves cutting expenses to survive within their means. When their means are not met, we see businesses close and homelessness increase. We, the people, would benefit from government being reined in and forced to live within their means, rather than increasingly squeezing us year after year. I also realize tough, very tough decisions will need to be made in order to curb the runaway expenses. I'm not simply complaining, but I'm willing to offer suggestions such as removing the redundant telephone pole mounted lights directly over the shorter downtown street lights. But that's really only a drop in the bucket. We need substantial changes such as parking plow trucks unless we're experiencing more than 4 inches of snow or severe icing. On the other side, on the school side, a national trend is increased administrative positions at a far greater rate than teaching positions. Why do we need so many administrators? These administrators are often paid 3 to 4 times what a teacher is paid. Replace administrators with teachers and we could likely do more with less money. Maybe even pay the teachers better. These ideas are controversial, as is anything that departs from the normal, spend whatever we need to maintain the status quo. I have several other ideas, but none can be stated briefly or simply in a way that would convince anyone within my mere 5 minutes of time up here. I am more than willing to share and discuss these ideas if anyone would take the time to sit down and listen with an open mind. Please remember that we elect city councilors to represent the citizens of Somersworth and not simply allow the city to run beyond the means of the taxpayers. If we the people hand over the same tax revenue as last year, the same millions of dollars of our hard-earned money, those in charge making decisions, the same people that are paid very well to manage those costs, will have to find a way to satisfy the most important needs of the city, just as we the people must do every year, every month, and every day. If there was ever a year to freeze our city budget at the same amount as the previous year, this is it. A couple of councilors have indicated they support a zero increase budget. I urge all the councilors to vote for a zero increase budget. Please represent the citizens of Somersworth by representing our needs too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak? Yes, come on up, state your name and ward in which you live. And for the record, just for everyone, I should have said this before, I am doing 5 minutes on my phone, so if you hear the timer, that is unfortunately your 5 minutes, just to keep us all
I'll listen
together.
very carefully.
I'm trying. Thank you.
My
Appreciate
name
it.
is Barbara Wentworth from Hawthorne Circle, from Ward 2. And I used to be on the school board. I represented Ward 2, and clearly it's been a while because I was anxious going over my little speech and I broke my glasses. So that's why I'm not a crazy cat lady. I was just like super anxious. All right. So, and I have a sinus infection, but I'm on antibiotics, so I'm not contagious. All right. Anyways, I felt that I had to come down here to address Councillor Kenny Vincent's comments on March 17th. I would like to address 2 things. First, I know from serving on the school board that the budget allows for very little wiggle room. The funding from the state, which keeps decreasing every year, and the ever-increasing operational costs, I have full confidence that the budget presented by the superintendent to this council is what our student citizens of Somersworth need to teach essential skills necessary as directed by our mission statement. Second is Councillor Vincent's attack on Maggie Larson. I could not stand by and allow you to besmirch a former Somersworth Citizen of the Year, Chair Larson. There have been 3 individuals who have resigned from the school board this past year. First, Todd Marsh, who was clear in his letter of resignation that it was due to personal and professional reasons only. Then Susan Tierney, now Susan Veit, who got married and moved out of state. Last was me. I resigned for personal matters only. Chair Maggie Larson has always been a tireless champion for this city. During your March 17th criticism of Chair Maggie Larson, Kenny Vincent, you stated that resigned school board members came before you, tying our resignation to Chair Larson's heavy-handedness or dictatorship. I'm pretty clear that everyone who's met me for more than 5 seconds is well aware that I would never be dictated by anybody. So no one on the school board came before you, Councillor Vincent. That is simply not true. We can all acknowledge that being a civil servant is super hard, right? It is basically a volunteer position. You all work tirelessly at this. Often it's a thankless position that is teetering on being attacked. Attempting to represent the public is a challenge. We need to figure out how to help each other lift up the city. It can be easy to forget, despite our differences, that we are all here trying to make Somersworth the best city that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if I could just ask for clarity that this is comment on the budget, although comments are certainly welcome. There's a public comment further in the agenda just to keep us
Thank
in
you.
the right
You
ballpark.
read my mind. But yes, as a reminder to the public, this is about the budget. So please, please, please keep those comments on topic. All right. Next up, we're still on public comment, but next up, do we have others willing to talk? Yeah, thank you. Again, we've got 5 minutes. If you would mind stating your name.
A lot taller than I am.
Name and ward in which you live.
6'2"
Thank you.
in my head. So I'm Louise White. I live in Nash Parkway. I'm in Ward 4. And I'm a fourth generation public school educator. And I spent 16 years of my 21 as an English teacher here in Somersworth. I'm now an administrator in a different district. And I don't make 4 times what a teacher makes. I'm here tonight to support the superintendent's proposed budget. I don't want you to think of yourselves as people who are here to keep the bottom line at the bottom line. You're all stewards of this community. And a good steward is somebody who is entrusted with the careful and responsible management of something like resources, time, or relationships on behalf of another, often with the focus of using those resources wisely for the benefit of others to ensure that the next generation will flourish. In my decade and a half working for SAU 56, I've witnessed the whittling down of staff and programs at Somersworth High School. I am concerned that the school board has prepared a budget that does meet the tax cap requirements, but I also worry that it's not really in the best interest of our citizens and their children. If the city accepts the school board's proposed budget, we will see even more cuts, fewer programs, even less opportunity for our children. I have no idea how our school district can bear the loss of 10 more positions. We're already at the bone. Our enrollment has remained fairly consistent, but the number of educators is going down and down. Our resources are fewer and fewer, and there doesn't seem to be an end of the cutting down of our school system year after year. It's not just a matter of this matter is not just the concern of parents, but for everybody, because we're all stewards of this community. John Shea, the superintendent of schools, has worked tirelessly. Gosh, I taught publicly for years, and now I'm like nervous. Has worked tirelessly to put a budget together that is sensible, practical, rooted in the best educational practices, and it doesn't contain any frills, but smart, well thought out, planned, that focuses on our students' needs. And his budget doesn't add anything, it just keeps things going. And so our students and our school system, I ask you, can we handle more cuts? Can we do that? And I want to make it clear that as someone who doesn't have kids, and I no longer work in this school district, I don't have a personal stake in that budget. It doesn't benefit me in any way. So I stand here tonight because I believe in public education. And I think you guys do too, because I bet you all benefited from it. Maybe some of you, maybe you didn't. And we know how transformative it can be. If we continue to underfund our schools, I worry that the children of Somersworth will not have the opportunities that we all had. And that's something we can't afford. We have to protect their future. It's your job. It's our job. So I urge the council to support the superintendent's budget, fund our schools, give the children of Somersworth the opportunity to flourish. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak towards ordinance 16-25? Yes, thank you. Come on up. Again, if you wouldn't mind stating your name and ward in which you live.
Oh, I think I'm even shorter than she is. Michelle Nash. I live at Winter Street. I'm in Ward 1. Sorry, glasses too. I want to thank you first for all you do for our community and the families in Somersworth. And I understand that this is a very difficult decision. I know you want to remain frugal for the taxpayers, but I also know that you want to provide all the resources for our students and staff and the city needs. I'm here tonight to urge you. I agree with a lot of the things that Ms. White said. I'm here to urge you to override the tax cap in favor of supporting the superintendent's recommendations to keep our school programs going as they are. I am a parent of 3 children that all completed their education in Somersworth. My 2 sons are engineers, and my daughter is about to graduate from the University of Connecticut. Go Huskies, I'm going to add that right there. She will be receiving a BS in Allied Health, which all stem from her time at the CTC Center in the Medical Assisting Program. It's just one of the many important programs that the CTC Center offers. All of the CTC Center programs are important to some students in the high school. And maybe some of those students only come to school because of one of those programs. So cutting one should not be on the list. I also work in kindergarten at Idlehurst, and when we started the school year, we had 23 students in our classroom. The school board worked very quickly to get us another teacher, to downsize to limit the number of kids in each classroom. But right now, we're back up to about 20. Losing more staff is going to just make those class sizes increase, and we all know that that's not in the best interest of the students in our town. Other positions need to be cut. Things need to be cut in order for the tax cap to be adhered to. And I trust that our administrators, the superintendent, the school board all made wise decisions on what should be cut. But unfortunately, things will be lost and the impact will be felt. I keep thinking of the budget, the tax cap program itself, as a sandwich. And when it first came, we trimmed off the crust. It still tasted like a sandwich and it looked like one, but it wasn't quite the same. But now, as we keep going, it's like the meat is coming out of the sandwich. And now it no longer tastes like one. It doesn't even look like one. And the bread isn't holding it together anymore. So we need to stop with it. We need to just keep not losing pieces of our sandwich. I'm a taxpayer and I understand the struggle. I just want you to really consider moving forward with the superintendent's recommended budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak towards the 2025-2026 budget? Yes, thank you. Come on up. Again, if you could state your name and where you live.
I'm Scott Seeley. I live in Cinnamon Ridge, so Ward 4. I'm a taxpayer like many or all of you, and also a teacher at the high school. I didn't prepare something, but I've been thinking about this for a little bit, and I also watched the remarks from a few weeks ago. To make it quick, I just wanted to say, if there's any losses in the district or any particular school, there's a lot of collateral damage that can't be quantified on a spreadsheet. And again, as a taxpayer, I saw my property taxes go from $6,800 to $8,600 over the course of the last year. So I understand how people want to be frugal and want to look out for our working class city. There's a lot of people that probably can't afford something like that. As a person that makes my living in Somersworth, I also have not had a 25% increase to my salary. That's public information, but I think it's been 8%, 6%, and 4% over the last 3 years. So that hasn't kept up with that. And I understand we don't want to continue to raise taxes. But as a teacher, as a community member, I see a lot of students, a lot of families with success stories that, again, can't just be seen on a spreadsheet. On a different note, I had a conversation with a staff member that works at the high school after school today, and I think there's a lot of cynicism involved with education in general right now. This staff member in particular was unsure if they wanted to return next year, not for any particular reason with that they're going through, but just from the basic cynicism that exists within education and the thought that can they continue to exist in our school district but not really have a chance of being able to buy a house in their next 5 or 10 years. I think stuff like that is problematic, and the thought that we might have less teachers and more worse outcomes for our students is also problematic. If we're trying to look not towards cynicism, but towards optimism in the future, I don't know how that can be done with having less staff members involved with our district. I guess I just want to say I appreciate what the council does and what the school board does, but if we're trying to move forward, we can't do that by taking a step backwards with regards to staffing or looking at the message that we're trying to send to, the 1,300 kids in our district. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak this evening? Yes, thank you. Come on up. And again, your name and ward in which you live.
Hello. I'm Marcy Stone. I live on Bork Street, and I'm in Ward 5. I just want to speak in support as well as overriding the tax cap for the schools. I'm a parent. I'm a taxpayer. I get it. We all don't like paying taxes, but I find it unacceptable to think about any additional cuts to our schools. I also find it unacceptable that our counselors speak about our school board members the way that they have. And I ask the board to seriously think about their colleagues and how they're treating other people in our towns. Our schools are amazing and incredible, and I'm here standing in support of them. The faculty and Superintendent Shea has done a fantastic job of putting together a proposal of what we need in our schools and what our community needs. And I think we deserve it. And I stand in support. I ask you to override the tax cap and support our schools with the superintendent's plan.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak this evening? Anybody else? All right, going once. Thank you. Yep, go ahead. Again, state your name and ward in which you live.
My name is Ken Hilton. I'm in Ward 4. I'm not part of the school board, and I'm not a teacher, and it's kind of rare, but it's very important. 5 years ago, the cost of this per student in Somersworth was $14,500 per student. Last year, it was $19,500 per student. And the numbers of students have gone down over those years. So whenever we say that we need to increase the budget, the number of students keeps going down, but the budget keeps going up. That doesn't make much sense in the real world, and I know that it's very important to keep good teachers. I would work on like some of the things that Mr. Brooks spoke on. I echo them. So I'm all for good education. We all need good education. During those 5 years, the quality of students reading at grade level has gone down also. Last year, it was 38% read at grade level. And the science and math scores were worse. So I would just encourage you all to, it's not, we all want good education for our students. Full disclosure, I took my daughter did not go to Somersworth schools because the education wasn't that good, to be honest with you. And I could not be part of the education freedom accounts that everyone bemoans so much about. If we would have, and as a plumber, I couldn't be part of that, okay? If I would have been able to, I would have only gotten 1/4 of the money that would have gone to her. So say $5,000 maximum would have gone to us. She went to Seacoast Christian School in South Berwick. It's about $8,000 a year is what it cost. But that would have, if I would have gotten that money from Somersworth, the school still would have gotten the $15,000, and they wouldn't have had to do anything with my student. And she got a good education. She's going to college. She's a good kid. And her character is good also. Now, does that work for everybody? No, but the parents should have that opportunity. And whenever people bemoan these education freedom accounts, there's a reason that Somersworth schools keep losing students and the cost keeps going up. And we ought to look at that and look at what's being taught. Is it really, if 38% are reading at grade level, you know, that's pretty bad. So, and I'm not blaming the teachers. You know, they have a huge task at hand. And with the breakdown of the family, it's worse every year. So we ought to think of those things, but blowing through the taxes and taking money from the taxpayers is a bad idea. Taking more and more and more money every year. There's a reason for that tax cap. It's to limit it to inflation and also growth in the city. And if you don't have that, it's going the opposite direction. The taxes are going through the roof, and the people aren't coming into the city, and it's going to discourage businesses from coming in also. I just joined the chamber myself as a plumber, my own business. So just, you know, it's not an endless supply of money. This is not the Federal Reserve. We don't just print money. I would encourage everyone here, go home and look up how much $1 trillion is. And the United States of America is in debt $37 trillion, and that's what's on the books. Go home and Google how much is $1 trillion. They'll curl your hair. There's no free money, folks. When you say, oh, the federal's cutting back.
I apologize, Mr. Hilton, but your time is up.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank
We
you.
could talk for a long time on this one. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak this evening? Yes, thank you. And again, if you wouldn't mind saying your name and ward in which you live.
Hi, my name is Kylie Yoder. I live in Ward 4 on Mount Auburn Street. And I wasn't planning on talking tonight, but here we are. I grew up in Somersworth. I graduated from Somersworth High School. Our school district has come such a long way, even since I was a student here. I have successfully gotten 2 kids through, almost 3. He'll graduate in June. And I am strongly in favor of you all supporting the superintendent's proposed budget. And I would like to briefly talk about, I know you guys know how the budgeting for school works with the state. The state is inadequately funding us, and so for the people of the community who are worried about our tax rates, which I am not, go ahead and raise my taxes because our children are worth it. Your beef is with the state. It's not with the city. Until the state does the right thing by us, we're not going to see our taxes go down, and that's just how it is. And that's really all I have to say, and I'm really deeply hoping that you will all do the right thing by our kids and by our future and pass the superintendent's proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak this evening towards the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget? Yes, please come on up, state your name and ward in which you live.
Paul Barton at 6 Rouleau Drive, Ward 1. My wife and I retired after 42 years in Dover, and I gave the city a year on the school board for every decade. So I served 4 years on the Dover School Board. It's a rough job. It really is. And the city council is certainly no easier. Dealing with personalities who stand before you is not an easy job. And wondering what the responsibilities would be if you made a certain decision can be haunting. My wife and I retired here 6 years ago after 42 years in Dover. We thought that this would be a wonderful place. Well, we got a little notice in the mail a couple weeks ago saying that our escrow on our mortgage, we still have one, even though we're retired, is going up $295 a month. So that's about a $3,000 increase, both taxes and insurance. We're dealing with a lot of money outgoing. We're not dealing with a lot of money on the income. We can't adjust that, at least on our side, for the income. I would like you to at least maintain the cap. They were talking about caps when I was on the school board. The cap was a maximum. It wasn't a target. It wasn't, I'm going to reach that final dollar and, oh boy, am I good. No, it was a cap. If you come under it, great, but don't exceed it. I urge you to maintain the tax cap or less. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Again, if you wouldn't mind coming up. Oh, we got two. I know. Thank you. Say your
Hi.
name and ward in which you live.
Wendy Berkeley. I live on Prospect Street in Ward 1. I'm really just parroting a lot of what I'm hearing people say is to please take Mr. Shea's budget under recommendation and pass it. Yes, I know it's over the tax cap. I pay property taxes too. I was equally stunned, but education is literally a pillar of society. If we take that away, if we remove programs, if we remove anything from our school system, we are not just harming our kids, we really are harming our community. We are harming every single one of us who lives here, who may retire here, or may choose not to because we realize that there's no system anymore. So I'm asking you to please consider overriding the tax cap and to take Mr. Shea's budget under consideration. He worked pretty hard on it, Katie, and he, I don't know how a budget works, but I know that they probably spent a lot of time on it, and his budget makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes. Thank you. Again, state your name and ward in which you live.
Hi guys, my name's Carrie Clark. I live on Franklin Street, so I believe I'm Ward 2. I just want to say you have a hard job, and I am so sorry. This is an unfortunate circumstance from all around, like taxpayers, families. It is difficult. And I also want to say that I'm vice chair of school, but I don't think I said that. But I also just wanted to say that, you know, when we think about this school board budget, I want you to think about like Superintendent Shea's proposed budget. It's to just benefit the students. And I want to remind you that if, you know, you're not passing it just to, you know, give it to Maggie Larson, give it to the school board. It's not giving it to us. It's giving it to the students in the community in which we live. It's not just to, you know, and I hope that we come to a place where we're rising above any, you know, relationships that we're trying to build between city council and the school board. I'm hoping that we're coming to a place where we are better than we have been. It's unfortunate some language was presented, but I'm hoping that you'll, you know, do the right thing and make sure our students have an adequate education for sure. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak? Yes, please come on up. And again, state your name and ward in which you live.
Alan Marquis, Ward 1, 5 Rouleau Drive. I call this the perfect storm, folks. This isn't fair to the schools, it's not fair to the city people, taxpayers, but unfortunately, we're here. I've lived here for 60 years. I've seen good, I've seen bad, I've seen better. I'm just gonna have some thoughts here, and I don't wanna offend anybody, but this is reality, folks. I was on a planning board for 13 years. I did my time. I saw businesses come in here, big businesses. As far as I'm concerned, their assessed values are way too low. That should be helping out the schools and a lot of other things. As far as the budget goes, nice big thick book. There's not enough transparency there. I think you got to start looking at collective bargaining. people when you have your contracts. You got to look at longevity, insurance. I work for the biggest employer in this area. I don't get longevity. I don't get a lot of these nice things. It's great. I'm happy to go there every day and have a job. I'm just saying, you got to start looking at the big picture. Rollinsford left. I remember when this happened. Lost 80 kids. I don't remember any teachers going away. Just saying, I don't know. Great, we have smaller classrooms. I think that's a good thing for teaching. But once again, the taxpayers took that one on the chin, and that happened many years ago. School population, folks, stop getting into the Department of Revenue in New Hampshire. The numbers are going down. If the numbers are going down, like Mr. Hilton said, why are the costs going up? I get it. Contracts, health insurance, and whatnot. That's reality. Another thing is capital improvement projects. What's the 5-year outlay on that? You guys got to factor that into the whole big picture here. That's going to be a tax increase too. So people need to understand it's not just, picking on the schools or just on the city. You have to look at the big picture. Fire station, probably built at the worst time of the last decade during COVID, right? Funded for $7.7 million. They used Federal Reserve funds and federal grants to actually get it done. Came in at $9 million, and there's still a question about the soils, which I haven't heard anything from anybody, but it'd be nice to know that. And then one of my final things was just some thoughts. Your average increase with this new assessment is like $800 to $1,500. I've been really researching it. I got the information. Some properties saw $1,500 to $3,000, and that's not including what is about to happen. I don't know if anybody can take that. A lot of people are on fixed income, so you need to understand the big picture. And listen, I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs, but sometimes you have to have reality. Getting back on track, I made some of these points. A lot of the teachers weren't here and whatnot. And I feel for everybody, I really do. I think you should have a 5-year hiring freeze. New hires, no new hires unless the existing positions leave. I would do a 3-year budget outlay. This crap of 1 year, it's not cutting it anymore in this city. You got to look down the road. I would say 0 increase the first year, 1% the second, and 2% the third. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that can be adjusted. Maybe the economy is going to come back and whatnot. But you really got to start looking down the road, not just what it is right there at that moment. And I also think we should go to a referendum ballot this fall to go to a town form of government. I think there's way too much pressure on too many people. Let the people come out and vote. It happens all over this state. It can happen here. And it's not to put you people down. I think there's just way too much pressure. Let the people come out and vote, then nobody can blame anybody. Tax cap, we keep hearing about the tax cap. I think everybody's got it in their minds that the tax cap is 0. No, when you build a budget, you build it at 0. You start at 0 and go up. You don't go at 4% or whatever it's going to be and say, that's our new 0. That's part of the problem here, and that's why we're in this situation. I think there should be more cost sharing between the schools in the city, like IT technology, janitorial, building maintenance, whatever. Look at all contracting in all departments, both sides, whatever you can do. Consolidation of expenditures, when you have duplication, figure that out as well. Review the longevity system and possible abolishment of it, and full review of health, workman comp, and insurances in the bidding process. No less than 3 bids. I've been told that some of the stuff
Mr.
happens.
Marquis, but your 5 minutes are up. I do apologize.
Half a minute?
I could give you 10 seconds to wrap it up, please.
All contract bargaining should be no more than 3 years and no increases on a 5-year assessment. Closing statement, and I'm done. If you were building a house, would you tell the general contractor to build it? Don't give me the details. Just give me the bill, and I'll give you the check, and we'll be good. It never happens. If you were buying a car, would you go to the first dealership, put down the down payment without checking with the competition?
Mr. Marquis, to the benefit of the rest of the folks who'd like to speak, I do need to have you
I'll
kind of
finish
close
it
up.
when we
Thank you so
backside.
much. Have a great night. Anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Again, if you wouldn't mind, state your name and the ward in which you live.
My name's John Joyle. Most of you folks know me. I've been in this city probably almost 39, 40 years. Back when I moved in this city, all I heard was Walmart's going to create all kinds of temporary jobs and lessen the tax break. When's that going to happen? And how about Home Depot? When's that going to happen? And how about Target? When's that going to happen? All those automobile dealers up on 108 and all them doctors and all those medicine places up there, you know, hearing aids, I mean, they great businesses. When are they going to be taxed the same as we are? And I'd like to know how these people are taxed. That's what I would like to know. Can you people tell me that, or should I? You got to get a lawyer to get involved? How's that work? How do these people get taxed in this community versus all of us people here? And I'm a homeowner. Oh, by the way, my mortgage is paid. Okay, so don't think that gives you room to tax me anymore. But you know, it's very distressful to figure out how this works. And I don't have all the answers. I clearly don't. I'm sure that most of the property owners have their own feelings about it. But when your dad was a city councilor, I heard all the time, Mr. Vincent, from him and all the others at the meeting, from the mayor on down. Well, these people are going to bring all kinds of jobs to Somersworth. When is the property taxes going to be held in abeyance because of that? I mean, that was over 35 years ago. Are you kidding me? That's not laughable. I'm not laughing or smiling. That's not a funny thing. It's not. And I echo what Mr. Marquis said. Him and I to agree, that's, whoa. And Mr. Hilton too. I echo what he says. I'm surely off the mark with Mr. Hilton and I both. But, you know, my my blood pressure is starting to peak, but that's okay. I'll let it subdue itself. But I do have other things I want to tell you, but I won't. I'll save it for some other time. Let somebody else please have their say. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Thank you. If you could say your name and ward in which you live.
Hi, my name is Daniel Smith. I live in Ward 1. I grew up in Somersworth on Ward 1 on the Hill, and I graduated from Somersworth High School since December of last year. I spent from December to August working in the school systems. I was at first a substitute, then a paraprofessional, and lastly an outdoor education teacher. And I'm 24 years old. I just graduated college, and I am looking down the path of what it means to pursue a future in education. And there's been a lot of comments tonight about the importance of teaching and the importance of teacher to student ratios in the classroom. And I just wanted to add my perspective as a young person looking down the barrel of a future in a world that is increasingly unstable, or at least the traditional forms of stability that we've been raised with are crumbling before our eyes, and it seems like something new every day. So I want to give a little bit of insight from how it looks for me and some of the peers that I've talked to, late high school and post-college students that I've worked with over the past couple of years are some of the most spirited, inspired, and creative individuals I've ever met. And my dearest friend on the planet, who just had a birthday yesterday, is currently in D.C. trying to become an educational policy advocate on a national scale. So there are people from this community, from Rollinsford, Somersworth, who are in D.C. right now working to make huge changes. And at the same time, everything that's happening is crushing her spirit and spirits of people like her. For myself, I enjoyed my time in the schools more than any job I've ever worked, but I went home every day emotionally and spiritually drained at the suffering and pain I saw in students as young as 5 years old. And I know that removing myself from that school was a very hard decision, because I knew that the connections that I'd made between staff and students were going to be severed, or at least distanced. And that's a very, very hard thing for those students and myself. So looking at a job that pays me 15 something an hour while also looking at tens of thousands of dollars in student loans and potentially more if I wanted to pursue a degree in education, it doesn't seem feasible to do those things. So as many ideas or hopes that I might have for education, it is hard to step into that field when we talk about the real world, and in that real world, we're putting a price on a child's head. Who has to explain to a kindergartner that they are too expensive to their district? I know that I wouldn't know how to have that conversation. As young people are more and more anxious, depressed, and suicidal and hopeless for the future than ever before, how much longer will we continue to talk about students as dollar values? What happens to the proud and bright students that we have written into our mission statement that we are trying to build when we stop looking at their brightness and we just look at how much they cost to us? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I can't speak to budgets, but I know that to me, from where I'm standing, it looks dismal, and I would stand beside anything that bolsters the education systems and bolsters the people within it who are fighting every day for it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, is there anyone else who wishes to speak towards our 2025-2026 budget? Yes, come on up. And if you could state your name and ward in which you live.
My name is April Tucker, and I live in Ward 1 on 32 Grand Street. I was an employee for a long time at Somersworth Middle School, and to speak to some of the things that I've heard this evening just when I came, the price of students per students, having that risen. Well, the price of paper has gone up. The price of supplies have gone up. So I don't know if we can really take that number with inflation and say, why has the number gone up? To those who spoke about, we lost Rollinsford kids, but we haven't seen staff go. I saw many staff go. So we have lost staff. I grew up in upstate New York. I grew up in a really small town, and school was the center hub. It was a K through 12 building. It was a very close-knit society, or community, and I feel like Somersworth is very similar to that. My girls have so many. They go to the school here, and they love going to the school. They have a really strong connection with all of the community members. And I feel like we're losing sight of the fact that our schools are that central pillar to our community. There's definitely a negative correlation between, how educated our kids are or our society is and crime rates. Is our police budget getting larger because crime rates are rising, right? Let's educate our kids. Let's give them cultural opportunities. Let's support them in their needs. And I support the budget as it is. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Yes, coming up. Again, just state your name and ward in which you live, please.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak for a few minutes. My name is Sean Michelonis. I'm used to be a resident of Somersworth for many, many years. I graduated from Somersworth High School. I've been around this community for a long, long time. Ken Vincent was a football coach of me back in elementary school. I will tell you, I've been paying attention very closely. My girlfriend lives right across the street. She's got kids that goes into Somersworth High School, Maplewood School and so on and so forth. I will tell you is I think a lot of overspending in a lot of the budget across the board. I think the school budget can cut down on certain aspects of it to help bring the money down, so it would actually be a better budget situation instead of being a 5% increase, which is unacceptable. City of Dover is also going through the exact same thing. I will tell you from experience in, dealing with, Somersworth High School, with my girlfriend's kids, and, I kind of take it, I go and speak up for her all the time. There's a lot of kids getting bullied in the high schools, the middle schools. The teachers and the administrations are not really keeping it, holding these juveniles accountable. And a lot of these teachers are allowing a lot of things happening within the school. And I feel when it comes to the budget aspects of it, we need to hold the administration accountable for every line item. And I think that would really help the city of Somersworth and help possibly lower taxes for property taxes in the city of Somersworth. I'm sorry, I just kind of rushed around. I drove as quick as I could to get here, so I had other things. But my biggest thing is I have a lot of respect for a lot of you guys. I've known a lot of you for a long time. And Ken, I got nothing but respect for you. You know that. But the budget's out of control, and honestly, you got to hold people accountable in order for it to fix. And if you pass it as is, it's not going to help the city, residents of city of Somersworth. Sorry, I ran up the stairs, so I'm like out of air. Other than that, I appreciate you guys having me talk for a few minutes. I appreciate all of you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else who would like to speak towards the 2025-2026 budget? Yes, thank you. Come on up. State your name and ward in which you live.
My name is Ethan Clark, Ward 1. Spent over 30 years here in Somersworth. I have my 4 children here in Somersworth. I want to commend Maggie Larson and thank her. I started recently attending some of the school meetings just to try and get a little bit more involved. I think it's very easy as citizens for us to be very critical. But one thing I would challenge all of the people that are here tonight on both ends of it, we as a community need to be more involved with these council members, whether it be on the school board, whether it be here at the city council. It's very easy to show up at some of these meetings when they're high profile items. We need to be more involved with it as a community and also as families. They have a very tough job. They're in the school board. Being able to make that budget, have to make those decisions. But it is a balance. It does have to go both ways. I would also say that our elderly community is equally as important and also as much of a staple as bringing up these younger people. Many of these older people are being pushed out. And I would say that has equally as much value. The people that have spent 50, 60 years in this community, raised their children, getting involved, they are equally as valuable. Both my parents were educators. I don't come from this from a naive position. I understand that that is one of the toughest jobs to have, but it does go back and forth. It does not go up every year. Those decisions do have to be made. Also, from a younger individual with a family, it's echoed all the time. What is the incentive for people to move here? We have the highest taxes. We have a city council and a school board that can't seem to ever come to terms with stuff. It's always an argument. We have to make sure that we can work through this. I want to see Somersworth grow. I also want to commend Mr. Robert Belmore. Thank you very much for your service. Hopefully this is the last budget that you ever have to worry about. And thank you very much for the hours that you've put into it. But really my commission is to the community. The school board is not the only place that needs to see cuts. There are other items here within this community that needs to see it. And from somebody who's younger with children, I want to raise my kids in this community. It is not just the school board that needs to see the cuts. I would ask that you hold the line, not increase it, because that will have a negative effect. I do understand that's not going to be a popular opinion with some of the people with the school board, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be that way forever. But we have to be able to live within our means, and I feel as though over the last few years that has not been the case of the city of Somersworth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak towards our 2025-2026 budget? Anyone else who wishes to speak? All right. Going once, going twice. All right. We'll close the public hearing on ordinance 16-25. Next up is a public hearing on ordinance 17-25, which is to amend chapter 19, zoning ordinance, section 21, circulation and parking regulations. Is there anyone here to speak towards ordinance 17-25? Anyone here to speak towards ordinance 17-25? Okay, we'll close that public hearing. That brings us to the public hearing on ordinance 18-25, which is to amend Chapter 19, Zoning Ordinance, Table of Uses, Table 4.A.2, Principal Uses, 5, Places of Worship and Related Religious Facilities. Is there anyone here this evening looking to speak toward Ordinance 18-25? Anyone towards Ordinance 18-25? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. It brings us to our public hearing on Ordinance 19-25, which is to amend Chapter 19, Zoning Ordinance, Section 19.24, Accessory Dwelling Units, and Section 25, Definitions, Section Z.D, Dwelling Unit Accessory. Is there anyone here this evening looking to speak towards Ordinance 19-25? Yes, thank you. If you could state your name and ward in which you live.
Name's still Richard Brooks, 18 Linden Street, Ward 1.
It's habit.
As you all probably know, I'm on the Zoning Board of Adjustment, the Historic District Commission, and the Mayor's Housing Task Force, but I'm here to speak simply as a private citizen. Of course, volunteering in these roles provides me more knowledge and insight than the average resident. I believe significant zoning changes are long overdue, certainly needed, and these proposed are well intended. These amendments to accessory dwelling unit I do support as written, but want to urge caution on amending it further. The ADUs were forced on us by the state. Any state-based zoning becomes a one-size-fits-all, and which almost never work well for most cities or towns. Luckily, we're allowed to place some sort of restrictions on them. I believe our initial ordinance concerning ADUs was a bit too restrictive. Relaxing ADU ordinance will assist many more homeowners in allowing them to create a rental income to offset expenses. I do, however, believe a few key aspects are very important to keep in place. Owner-occupied keeps ADUs where they belong, helping residents, not doubling absentee landlord rental units. Shared utilities, additionally, helps keep these units under a single ownership as intended. Unfortunately, this requirement seems to be on the chopping block. Limited square feet is a critical detail to keep ADUs as a subordinate use and prevent significantly altering a neighborhood's character, especially in well-established, desirable areas. Every city and town has less than desirable neighborhoods. With those, we have little to lose. But please keep in mind, ADUs could easily alter well-established, desirable neighborhoods in negative ways if we're not careful. It can be a delicate balancing act at times. Since ADUs are accessory use, we should not encourage large ADUs that essentially become duplexes or substantial second houses. I believe increasing the allowable size beyond 800 square feet could have negative effects on surrounding character. The primary housing unit will still have no size restriction. The owner has the flexibility to choose to reside in either one of the two units. My own house is only 1,029 square feet. This includes 3 bedrooms, a full bath with a tub, a kitchen with room for a large dining room table, plus 2 additional rooms. Additionally, all of this includes 3 closets, a small storage area, and of course a stairwell for the second floor. You can fit a lot of living space in 800 square feet. And it is commonplace to find developers offering residential units under 500 feet now. I believe 800 square feet seems to be a reasonable limit, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak towards Ordinance 19-25? All right, we do have a public comment that was submitted electronically, so I'm going to read that just for the record. This is from Gabrielle Smith. As you know from a copied email, I'm considering building an ADU at my current residence at 3 Molly Lane. I may not be able to attend Monday's meeting, but wanted to express my wishes that the council consider expanding the square footage for an ADU from 800 to 1,000 square feet, and also adding that the proposed ADU could be detached. This would expand the current provisions, adding much needed flexibility. For one example, people may have a detached garage that they hope to renovate into an ADU for their aging parents, allowing them to be close without having to sell their existing home and relocate elsewhere. Additionally, in my opinion, this would expand the opportunities for additional housing, which is much needed in Somersworth, as well as New Hampshire in general. I hope the proposals come before the board, or that come before the board, will be considered and adopted. All right, anyone else wishing to speak towards Ordinance 19-25? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on Ordinance 19-25. Brings us to our public hearing, our last one for the evening, on ordinance 20-25, which is to amend chapter 19 zoning ordinance section 19.20.d.2.f.I, Somersworth Plaza signage. Is there anyone who wishes to speak towards ordinance 20-25? Anyone for ordinance 20-25? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close our public hearings this evening. Next up brings us to item 5, which is comments by visitors. Again, City of Somersworth and the Mayor's Office welcome all visitors and encourage you to voice your opinions and views at council meetings. In accordance with Council Rules 7-C, as mentioned previously, time limit of 5 minutes per person shall be in effect unless council wishes to suspend the rules. Speaker shall not enter into debate with any persons, the mayor, council members, city manager, or department heads. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this evening? Anyone who wishes to speak? Yes. Come on up.
Yeah, just wanted to finish my last part.
Thank you. It works.
And I have a parting comment for somebody else, but the last part was when purchasing a home, you know, you have oil, gas, appliances, whatever. You know, you got to take that into account too with, you know, your budget. Just remember, knowledge is a success, and not having it is almost a failure. And a great president once said, trust but verify on anything. And I think when we all start doing that as a whole, as a community, things will get better. And I just want to say, Mr. Belmore, I enjoyed serving on the planning board with you for 13 years. Thank you for your service. You had a tough job, and you went through a lot. I'm glad it's your last budget, and good luck to the next guy.
Thank you so much. Anyone else who wishes to make public comment this evening? All right. Yes. Thank you.
John Joyle, Molly Lane, Ward 4. I forgot to mention before, I had 2 children that went through Somersworth schools. Didn't have a problem there. I would hope that the schools would concentrate their efforts more so towards the trades than towards the college. I think they're finding out now that the trades are a lot more productive and cost effective to the kids than 4 years of college debt, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20. We're putting these kids in debt, and they aren't even out in the society yet. But my kids did go to school, and they were successful. I don't have any problems with the school system. It's just I would hope you folks would be a little bit more frugal on the taxation of the residents, of the property owners. I know there's a lot of people get up and speak, but I didn't hear too many of them say that they were property owners. Just living in Somersworth is one thing. Where's the property tax come from? The property owners. They're the ones paying the property tax. Okay, I just wanted to remind you folks know that anyway. You didn't need me to tell you, but and Bob, thank you very much for your service. You and I had been head-to-head many times, and most of the times it came out fruitful. So thank you for your service, Bob. Yeah, I did. I especially want to thank you for giving us a new fire station. And the fire chief is here. Very good. And the fire chief as well. But thank you. I was hoping after a new police station, a new city hall, a new fire station, a new elementary school. What could I ask for? We've got everything we need. Stop the taxes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else who wishes to make public comment this evening? Thank you. Again, if you could state your name and where you live for
Jeff
the record.
Bass, Ward 1.
If you could just state your name again. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Jeff Bass,
Yes,
Ward
thank you.
1. Councilman, Mayor Girding, there's an 800-pound gorilla in the room, and its presence is undeniable. The recent property-wide reevaluation has caused a significant impact on the budgets of many households, and especially those members of our community with the least amount of disposable income. This has caused an air of uncertainty. Homeowners are uncertain whether they can afford to live here any longer or whether they should sell their homes. And for those contemplating purchasing a home in our community, I'm sure they're having second thoughts once they do the math and figure out their tax liability. It's debatable whether the methodology that was used to derive the property assessments was both fair and equitable. Obviously, there are multiple factors to take into consideration, but just because someone overpaid for your neighbor's property, that shouldn't mean that yours should be assessed at that same value. As recently published, the annual property taxes would increase $228 on a $400,000 house, barring no changes to the proposed budget. In a normal budget year, that would most likely be acceptable. Well, this year has proven to be anything but normal, and it's my opinion that any increase would only make a bad situation worse. The average homeowner just saw their valuations raised 68%, but let's tell that to the homeowner that just saw their valuations raised 150% or more. This financial trajectory is not sustainable and may have unintended consequences. All budgets are comprised of both wants and needs. The tax cap helps keep these two categories in check. I think the definition of what is a need has been blurred over time, and somehow we're supposed to believe that making cuts to the budget items in excess of the tax cap is cutting a need. Most households understand this concept and attempt to live within their means. Now more than ever, taxpayers' concerns should weigh heavily on the decisions you make regarding this budget and those in the future. I know time is limited, so I just have a couple of observations on the budget. It appears to be top-heavy in administrative positions. These salaries, combined with benefits, are overly generous. Health insurance premiums are also a major cost. Is it on par with other municipalities? Is Somersworth part of a statewide coalition to help achieve any savings through economy of scale? Are employees paying their fair share? These are the type of questions, when answered, go a long way toward instilling transparency into the budget process. In conclusion, how do we remove the presence of the 800-pound gorilla in the room so that it doesn't have such an extreme impact on future budget deliberations? I recommend conducting property assessments every 3 years versus every 5. This shortened time period should help eliminate the huge variance that we just encountered and hopefully improve the accuracy of assessments. Homeowners would also be able to better gauge their tax liability and be confident that their assessments are both fair and equitable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else who wishes to make public comment this evening? Thank you. Again, if you wouldn't mind reminding us of your name and where you live.
I am Daniel Smith. I live in Ward 1, and I wasn't planning on speaking at all, but here I am for the second time. I noticed this is my first time really participating like this before as well, and I noticed at the beginning, along with the Pledge of Allegiance, we did a dedication to the Native Americans on this land, and that piqued my interest. I just happened to be holding on to a book with a letter written in 1852 by Chief Seattle to the acting American president when the American president was inquiring about buying tribal lands for the arriving people of the United States. And as on the surface, this seems to me a discussion about a budget and all of these things that I admit are beyond me still. What's also happening is a debate of values. Education is a value The lives of children is a value, and owning land is a value that we hold. And I just want to speak the words of Chief Seattle here in this letter, just to remind what it means to respect the native lands that we're on. He says, I quote, "The president in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land, but how can you buy or sell the sky, the land? This idea is strange to us. If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them? Every part of this earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every meadow, and every humming insect, all are holy in the memory and experience of my people. We know the sap which courses through the trees as we know the blood that courses through our veins. We are part of the earth, and it is part of us. The perfumed flowers are our sisters, the bear, the deer, the great eagle, these are our brothers. The rocky crest, the juices in the meadow, the body heat of the pony, and man, all belong to the same family. The shining water that moves in the streams and rivers is not just water, but the blood of our ancestors. If we sell you our land, you must remember that it is sacred. Each ghostly reflection in the clear waters of the lakes tells of events and memories in the life of my people. The water's murmur is the voice of my father's father. The rivers are our brothers. They quench our thirst. They carry our canoes and feed our children. So you must give to the rivers the kindness you would give any brother. If we sell you our land, remember that the air is precious to us, that the air shares its spirit with all the life it supports. The wind that gave our grandfather his first breath also receives his last sigh. The wind also gives our children the spirit of life. So if we sell you our land, you must keep it apart and sacred as a place where man can go to taste the wind that is sweetened by the meadow flowers. Will you teach your children what we have taught our children? That the earth is our mother. What befalls the earth befalls all the sons of the earth. This we know. The earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth. All things are connected like the blood that unites us all. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. One thing we know, our God is also your God. The earth is precious to him, and to harm the earth is to heap contempt on its creator. Your destiny is a mystery to us. What will happen when the buffalo are all slaughtered, the wild horses tamed? What will happen when the secret corners of the forest are heavy with the scent of many men, and the view of the ripe hills is blotted by talking wires? Where will the thicket be? Gone. Where will the eagle be? Gone. And what is it to say goodbye to the swift pony and the hunt, the end of living and the beginning of survival? When the last red man has vanished with its wilderness and his memory is the only shadow of a cloud moving across the prairie, will these shores and forests still be here? Will there be any spirit of my people left? We love this earth as a newborn loves its mother's heartbeat. So if we sell you our land, love it as we have loved it. Care for it as we have cared for it. Hold in your mind the memory of the land as it is when you receive it. Preserve the land for all children and love it as God loves us all. As we are part of this land, you too are part of the land. This earth is precious to us. It is also precious to you. One thing we know, there is only one God. No man, be he red man or white man, can be apart. We are brothers after all. This is our land. I can't really say anything else other than that, but I think I just wanted to share that and something to think about. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment this evening? All right. Seeing none, we will continue onward. Brings us to item 6 on our agenda, which is approval of the consent calendar. The chair will obtain a motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes the minutes of the city council meeting held on March 3rd, 2025. Councilor Goodwin moves the consent calendar be approved as presented, seconded by Councilor Witham. Question for the council is the adoption of the consent calendar. If you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, ayes have it. The consent calendar is adopted. Item 7 is comments by city councilors. Are there any comments by councilors this evening? Councilor Vincent?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. You know, I got to explain to you how difficult this is. First of all, before I go into that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. This means a lot to this council. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm pretty sure that the rest of them think that this is really good. To get the idea of what the people want is what, 11,500 people in this town or city? And we have maybe 100. So thank you. But what I'm about to say is very difficult because, you know, Through my life, I've helped people. I was a firefighter for 33 years. I help people along the way. I'm a business owner. I've never been a nasty person. Never. I've never kicked somebody when they're down. I've normally helped people with financial situations. Heck, I just gave the school 2 weeks ago to the athletic department $8,000 from Hilltop Fireworks for a blocking sled that they needed. And I also paint on the side, so I'm going down there and I'm going to paint the bottom of the scoreboard, which is all rusty and it's a metal structure. So I've done a lot. I want to talk about the former school board member that came up. Thank you very much for coming up. However, you forgot one person in that, was Mark Richardson, who gave us a letter of resignation. Matter of fact, Mark met with all of us. And some of his words were this. At times, and by the way, I tried to contact him today. He didn't call me back. And I'm going to get the letter so I can read it in the next meeting. At times, working with Maggie on the school board as the school board chairperson, Madam Chair, sometimes it was vindictive, passive-aggressive, and sometimes toxic. So I want to apologize to you, Maggie, because 2 weeks ago, I made comments about you, and I shouldn't. And when I talked to you the next day, you were upset with me because you said that I didn't contact you first, and that's my no-no, and I apologize for that. But the things I said at that meeting were not far off base. So I'm not manufacturing what I said. I have an obligation as a city councilor. When somebody comes to me, such as a former school board member, teachers, and my constituents, I just can't say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to bring it up at the meeting. So here I am. I'm not manufacturing this. I'm bringing this up. We had conversations one year about a $600,000 return to this city. And I'm going to be real brief. I'm going to bring you right around circle to where I'm going with this. You told me that personally at the education funding meeting we had that you wanted $1.9 million that you got. About a month before the budget ended, I asked you about that, and you said you're not going to get the $600,000. You had other expenses, which I understand. You had $300,000 plus. Then the money vanished to find out that it was given to non-union employees. That's fine. I just would have wanted to have an answer on that, just like these other counselors. That's why we have a little bit of animosity with this school board and the chair. Just tell me the truth. I can handle it. We probably would have gave you the money back anyway, because that's what we normally do. I met today. Let's just hit one other point. I went to a meeting, school board, one in my life. It was a Saturday, and the subject was 90 cents. And the former Dana Hilliard, whose position was eliminated but reinstated, and correct me if I'm wrong, and the former superintendent was pushed out. By the way, she just got hired in Rollinsford as a superintendent there. She wasn't good enough for here, but she's a superintendent right next door. And the complaint was 90 cents. And the superintendent gave the 90 cents, but the school board wanted $1.10 because they had other issues. They wanted other things to be filled. And I saw some conduct that was just totally unrespected, which Mark Richardson actually told me that this respect for the school board or for the superintendent was terrible. And you gavelled the superintendent at that time and made her quiet down. And I lost disrespect for that. Where am I going with this? This council, some of them here, have, like I said, animosity. We just want the truth. Just give us the truth. We can handle the truth, and let us take it from there. You know, I told the mayor that I wasn't going to speak on this too much tonight because I had respect. He was a little nervous about this. This is a black eye for not just the city, but for the council, for the school board itself. A black eye. Because if you think I want to be here talking about this, I don't. What would I do? And I'll shut my mouth after this. I'd either resign from the school board or resign as the school chair so we can get the animosity taken out of this and we can start trusting this school board again. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Witham,
Yep.
you're recognized.
That's where it is.
I'll begin by just saying thank you to the residents for coming out to speak. And I was chatting with some of you before the meeting tonight, and I said the last time the room was filled this much was when we had a debate about whether or not to allow backyard chickens or not. It was actually a tie vote of council, and the mayor broke the tie. Typically, during our budget deliberations, we have one person that used to show up, God rest his soul, Mr. Real Roseberry. Some of you referenced the tax cap here tonight, and that was certainly championed by Mr. Roseberry. He and I did not see eye to eye on that, but we got along at the end of the day. It was fascinating that perhaps the temperature in a room could be lowered if we understand that different views can get along in the same room. I think it's critically important. And I wrote a note before some of the comments just now that were brought up during some of the public comment, and forgive me, I lost track of who was commenting on what, about the school board and the city council. And there is a natural tendency to have an us versus them sort of demeanor there, which is not at all helpful. We are a community, and I think we all strive to have the best community that we can within the difficulties and struggles that we are always presented with during the budget process. To be frank, adopting a budget is not hard. Some of my fellow councilors may use that word. It is not hard. We come here with a desire, with a will to maintain services, maintain a current level of staffing in the school department, or to reduce the budget, to increase the budget. It's a will, it's a tendency. And we all share, our meter is all different. All 9 of us, it's different. Some of us might be closer than others, but all of us, it's a little bit different. And I'll save the details of the budget conversation for a little bit later here this evening. But it's not hard, to be clear. It's whether or not you want to do it. I, for one, am willing to pass a budget tonight. Not put it off to the end of April, tonight. Why? Because people are sitting on pins and needles. It's rather obvious. I don't know if my fellow councilors have that will, and if they don't, we'll have to agree to disagree, and we'll get along, because that's what we should do. It's important. I'd also comment that about the quality of education here in Somersworth. And, my son Caleb has been out of Somersworth schools since 2018. In 6 months, he's going to get his doctorate degree. It's pretty cool for this dad. It was not always a Somersworth public education. We made a choice in pre-K and kindergarten. My wife works for Wentworth Douglas Hospital, and he did their pre-K and kindergarten program through their program it was at the hospital at the time, a little building next door. I think it's at the Works now. And then we transitioned to St. Mary Academy in Dover. Not for the quality of education, but for the type of education, if you can follow that ball. It was a conscious choice. And not once, even if it was a thing back then, I don't think it was, but I would have never thought of asking my community to help pay for that. Doesn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense then. Doesn't make any sense now, right? That was a personal choice that we took, not over quality, but over type of education. As we rounded the bend into middle school, we decided collectively as a family to move out of St. Mary Academy and to go into the Somersworth public school system beginning in 7th grade. And that treated him very well. And to anybody that wants to assert that the quality of education at Somersworth High School, the quality of the teachers there, the quality of the programming is anything less than adequate, if not great, shame on you. Some of those are teachers here tonight. Mr. Seeley was running the National Honor Society at the time. I believe is a teacher, is a resident. He spoke about living here in Somersworth, about his taxes going up. Mrs. White, a teacher of my son, also a resident here in Somersworth, to be very clear on that. All quality people that I just want to make sure get the recognition they deserve, because some have at least suggested that there isn't quality teaching going on at Somersworth High School, and that is far from the truth. Again, it's been a while since I've been there with a son in the school system, but since then, I've been back. I stay pretty engaged in my community. I live a pretty boring life, right? I don't mind paying my property taxes. Not my favorite thing to do, but I get it. I value the impact that my tax dollar has on the community, whether that's to educate kids, to protect our streets, to be there in case there's an emergency, to plow our roads. I value paying those property taxes. It's okay to me. I don't take vacations. My favorite TV channel is Channel 22. I was telling Superintendent Shea, I've never been to a concert in my life. I've been to one Red Sox game, never been to a Bruins game in the Current Garden. I live a boring life. And I don't mind that. I'm like really okay with that. I know it's not everybody, right? But I guess I just want us all to take a breath. Hopefully we did that. Thanks.
Thank you. Other comments by councilors? Councilor Pepin, then Councilor Michoud.
Thank you, Mayor. My wife was a para, so I know what the school teachers go through a little bit. I know what she used to come home with. Still to this day, every so often, if we're out on the streets or something like that, a student, one of our ex-students will come over and grab a hold of her and hug her, and I don't care what she got paid back then, that doesn't amount to what that means to her and whatever. I do know one thing. It's hard when you sit up here, and we just went through a reevaluation. We have residents coming up complaining about their reevaluation, especially people that are in mobile homes. They over doubled their tax rate simply because that's the market in this day. We don't set the market, somebody else does for us. So here I am trying to make a judgment on how far can these people go. Are they going to be in the warming shelter next year because they can't afford to pay their rent or whatever? Do I want the students to have a good education? Yes, very, very much. I'm on a fixed income. I listened to some of the comments about our city employees getting too much pay. I think probably most of the school teachers, probably if they worked at McDonald's, they probably get more money a week. I know when I was on the fire department, when I was leaving it, new firefighters, I was wondering how the heck they ever made it to stay there. So sometimes along the line, you have to pay your school teachers and you have to pay your city employees to keep them, because if you don't keep them, somebody else is going to take them. I know when I got onto the fire service, my part-time job paid me more than what I was making at the fire department full-time at 56 hours a week I worked there for. I guess I struggle. I didn't vote for the tax cap, didn't care for it. I believe that we have to look at what it costs to run something, to maintain something, and whatever. And I think it comes with talking to each other, especially between us and the school board. When I first got on the city council almost 20 years ago, basically the city council didn't talk to the school board and they didn't talk to us. We came to a situation and we had a good relationship where we talked between each other and be able to communicate. As far as I'm concerned, that's gone and it needs to come back. Somehow, some way, and This is my last year here, so I don't know who's going to be sitting here next year. But I do wish we could sit down and come to a common goal and understand. Like when we sat down together this time here, I was very honest with you. I can't take the almost $2 million increase over the tax cap, and I don't know if I can right now. But I do know how important the school is. I know how important our kids are. And I don't know exactly where I'm going this year with it. I'm still trying to debate that and try to digest it. I understand where the taxpayers are. Like I said, I'm on a fixed income, so I know a little bit about fixed incomes. I keep losing every year, and it just isn't city taxes going up. It's either medical costs or everything else. So I have to look at that too. So I hope everybody kind of like takes that into consideration as when we sit up here and make a judgment that it's not easy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Councillor Michoud.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm commenting on the last city council meeting. Some of the comments that were made. One of the former school board members contacted me, oh, not me personally, but through a mutual friend. And basically, I'm echoing what Ms. Wentworth said, is Susan Tierney. She came up and through a mutual friend, she wanted me to know that she did not leave the school board because anything to do with the chairman, nothing to do with any members of the school board. She was getting married. She was going to move into with her husband. She's selling her house, and her husband did not live in the city of Somersworth. That's why she resigned. So thank you for reaching out, Susan. I appreciate it. Second, I want to thank everybody that showed up. We always hear from the younger adults from this community, let us know everything, how they feel. Very rare we hear from our senior members of this community. This is exactly what we need up here. We need to hear from the other end to let us know how you guys are feeling, what you expect us to do. We want a broad perspective on both sides. So this year, what I did, I personally took a photo of my last copy of my property tax bill. Here's my budget book. In the front of my budget book, I put the copy of my property tax bill. So every time I start working on this budget, I see how much I'm paying in taxes now. I'm retired. I'm on a fixed income. It's not like I still have a job. I worked at the shipyard. I was very fortunate. I got a good paycheck out of them. I'm at the old retirement system. I get a pension. So I'm doing pretty good. I can afford this. But there's a lot of members here did not have a high-paying job like I did at the shipyard. They're struggling to make ends meet. So now I have this looking in my face every time I do the budget to make sure I remember that the members that are actually much older than me, they're going to suffer and struggle. So I know there's members of this community, they're going to hate some of us, but I'm sorry, we're going to do the best we can with the budget, and we have to start living within our means. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Councillor Gibson, and then Councillor Cameron, and then Barry and Goodwin. Go ahead, Councillor Gibson.
I appreciate everybody that spoke tonight about the budget. Regardless of which side you come down on, everybody's opinion is valid. There is no right and wrong in this situation. What there is, though, is realities. Yes, the schools need funding. We will do the best we can to do what we can for the schools. But I live in Sherwood Glen, and I have neighbors that I've talked to, and they got hit with over 100% increase in their assessments. Great, the tax rate went down to, as projected, a little over $19. Well, that didn't help them much. Myself, my bill went up almost $1,400. I can afford to pay it. I'm retired, but I can still afford to pay that bill. There are a lot of people living in places like Sherwood Glen and the other parks in town and even in the regular housing units that are not in a position to comfortably, even if they can, pay substantially higher assessments. But we will do what we always did. We will try to split the middle, try to remember that there are students in the schools that need our support, but there are also people at large in the public that are the taxpayers that need us to understand their circumstances. And I sometimes think that the two sides don't really see that. The students are the future, and everybody can agree on that. But we also have the past, which is the retired people that have worked all their lives to try to accomplish something, build something for their future, and they're seeing that torn away. And the bottom line is, as I forgot which woman brought this up, the state is not treating the schools in this state, and therefore the students, fairly. Just as the federal government has, in a number of cases, not fully funded the obligations that they enacted. And what that all means is it rolls downhill. And guess what? We're at the bottom of the hill. And I wish there was a prettier answer, but there really isn't.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, then Barry, then Goodwin.
Thank you. I first want to thank everybody for coming out. I think it is very important for us to hear where everybody is coming from, both sides, school and community. I've been on both sides. I've been on the school board. I served on there for 8 years. I was on there when the city didn't get along with the school board, so I know what that tension is like. Both my boys went through Somersworth High School, and they both had IEPs and received very good educations, in my opinion. Is the school important? Of course it is. We want to do what's right for everybody, though, and that's where the balance comes in. That's getting really hard on everybody. Where is that balance? How do we get it between the city and the school? 61% of the pie goes to the school board out of the general fund. That's 61%. And only 33 goes to the city. That's a hefty difference there. And with the rising costs of everything and trying to balance in maybe decreasing numbers in the school systems, nobody wants anybody to lose their job by any means. But we also have to live within our means as well. We have to find that balance, and that's where I know every single one of us up here is struggling with that, because you don't want to make those cuts. You don't want to have to do that, but you also have to provide other services along with that. And like people have said, the people on the fixed incomes, yeah, some are better off than others. Some are not. Some may have to sell their homes or whatever. That's the sad part of the future. And it's not just our community, it's Rochester, it's Dover. I don't know if anybody saw it, Dover just passed their budget up, but man, holy crap, I don't want to live in Dover. But I think it is important that everybody knows how difficult this is for us, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barry, and then Goodwin.
So I actually wasn't going to talk around the opening comments because we have a lot to get through tonight. I know it's been a very long meeting already. I just wanted to show you. Every single flag is a comment. I did not take this lightly at all. I ran out of flags, not even kidding. I thought I was going to find a ton of stuff. This was my first year, first budget. I thought I was going to find all this stuff we could cut. I got to tell you, I was nickeling and diming $100 items. And those are things we actually need. Our city, I want to commend Bob and our Steve for doing such a good job, because they've already cut so much from this budget of things where another citizen said, just because we cut the taxes doesn't cut the need. We cut a lot of stuff back because we know we can't go above, right? And that's on both sides. We're all arguing over an apple, and there's only so much we can go around. And we're all kind of hungry, is the way I can best describe this. So I think most of the counselors said that this is not an easy task for us at all. In fact, my doctor is going to yell at me because my blood pressure is going off the charts right now. So I very much appreciate everybody that came in, and especially said to look at the big picture. You know, I think that's the one thing that a lot of us agree on, but we're not quite getting there yet. My hope is we will, that we can put some of this aside and start looking at ourselves as one big community and not just our part, this part, and all of that. And that's all I'm going to say for now.
Thank you. Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo what Councillor Witham said, that I'm also willing and able to pass the budget night with the consent of my fellow councillors. I think it is a difficult decision to negotiate all these things, but one that is eminently doable and we have had time to prepare for. I also wanted to say that I have no animosity towards really anyone, let alone members of the school board or the chair. And that's because I trust that they have the right intentions to provide a top quality education. And I also trust their ability to communicate with others even when they disagree. So I think that we try and remain cordial and not throw around accusations even when there are disagreements or misunderstandings. And Councillor Mishu mentioned earlier that we often don't have healthy turnout. And when we do, it's often a more engaged group of young adults. Well, one of those young adults was me. I'm almost 40 now. And I eventually got sick of coming and yelling at these guys during public comment, and I ran and was elected. So I'm encouraging the audience here, if you don't like what you see, run and kick them out of their seat. Make me run for my seat again. None of us should be comfortable. Don't think, oh, well, so-and-so's been there forever. I don't care. They put, no offense to anyone, but they put very little effort into running, so it's not like we're running around town. It's not like we're running around town putting a lot of work in. This is eminently doable. So, yes, anyway, okay. So.
We're on channel 22. Watch the language, please.
Sorry. Okay, anyways, gotta wake people up, So anyways, I encourage people to be engaged. Now, I do want to talk, and I know this is a very long meeting, but I will not be here for the end of it. So I want to talk about assessments, because they were brought up a lot. This is a state regulation. The way that property is assessed is mandated by the state. It is in our case, it was a third-party company that collects data in the form of comps, right? So like similar houses, similar bathrooms, age, location, all those things. Same with commercial property, similar, big box store, gas station, whatever. They have a whole data set of sales in New Hampshire and in our region that they use to quantify what the fair market value of any given property is. We cannot simply, by state law, increase the valuation of commercial property. And I would posit, you do not want to give government that power. Suddenly, we now can just say, oh, well, commercial property needs to go up in value because residential property owners are getting burdened by tax. That's a very slippery slope in terms of playing with policy. However, I completely agree that the existing tax structure in New Hampshire is broken, and that there is a housing crisis, and home values have increased significantly. So therefore, their value as a percent of our total assessment has gone up. So now we are shifting, just by the virtue of home prices rising, the burden from commercial property to residential property. Walmart could be worth the same amount, right? Like, let's say commercial property didn't even change in value, but all of the houses increase in value because there's a lack of housing. Walmart's tax bill goes down. Nothing we can do about it under current state law. So again, this is a fight that this council has no ability to correct that injustice. And it is ridiculous because obviously Walmart sales haven't changed even though their tax bill has gone down. But there are things that can happen at the state level that would enable us to have a better, more responsive tax policy, such as a differential tax rate, so that you could have, which Massachusetts has, so you can have a commercial tax rate, so a higher rate for commercial property and a lower rate for residential property. And you know, there are a number of other things you can do, owner-occupied exemptions, et cetera, et cetera. Take it up with your representatives because this is important. Communities like Somersworth struggle year after year. And, you know, in times like this, like we really, you know, our hands are tied. You know, and to that extent, if you have data that says Walmart is underassessed, by all means, bring it to us. If you think your house is overassessed and your tax bill's too high, you can challenge it. Like, this is a data-driven exercise. So if you have data that shows your point is correct, please present it because we would love to shift that burden back to some of these corporate large property owners in town and off of everyday citizens, particularly those on fixed incomes. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments by councilors? Yes, Councilor Brady Catanzaro.
With respect to time, I will +1 Councilor Goodwin's comment about thanking everyone for coming and encouraging you all to get involved, and Councilor Witham's comment about trying not to see things as us versus them. And I think a really good example of that is I don't think that there is a school board, student, teacher group of people and also taxpayers. There's so many people that are both. And we heard from a lot of you that are taxpayers and go to school, that are taxpayers that support the schools, that are people that go to school, that understand the tax rate. I mean, we really are all in this together, just as the city council and school board should be able to work together. And so I hope that we can keep that balance in mind as we go forward tonight. And I'll just also echo that I am more than willing to pass the budget tonight. And we really do value everything that you've said. It makes a really big difference. And I just want to especially thank the last young man who got up and read that. It was very helpful for a perspective check. So thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order, Your Honor.
Yes.
Can you just please run over the time situation with how long the meeting can last tonight and any rules that go along with that? That would be appreciated. Thank you.
We are bound to 10 o'clock unless we suspend council rules to go beyond. So we have till 10. It is 8:47, as far as I can tell. Thank you. You're welcome. All right. All councilors have spoke, so we are moving on. Without objection from the council, I'd actually like to move that items laid upon the table come before us at this point in the agenda. So I'm going to do a little agenda magic. As long as everyone's okay with that, we're going to jump to that. I'm hopeful that the council is ready and willing to remove the budget from the table. And I know there's 2 items on the table. Let's please start with the budget. Is there a motion? Councilor Goodwin.
I'd like to make a motion to remove the budget from the table.
Thank you. Councilor Goodwin moves to remove ordinance 16-25, fiscal year 2025-2026 budget from the table.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Pepin. Actually beat you.
That's fine.
Motion before the council is to remove ordinance 16-25 from the table. This is a non-debatable motion. If you're in favor of removing ordinance 16-25, our budget, from the table, you'll say by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll say by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Goodwin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Witham.
Yes.
All right, so ordinance 16-25 has been removed from the table. Now, before we jump into it, I have some ground rules, okay? Before I accept amendments, I want to provide some guidance to the council. I'm asking that we discuss and amend the city side first, reason being so that I can sit with you and do that. I can't do the school side. I am an employee of the school and have made it my mission not to sit and preside over the school side of the budget, and will recuse myself if and when we get there this evening and Deputy Mayor Witham is prepared to sit in my stead. But so I ask that we start with the city side. My second bit of guidance is that I would like to first start in our discussions with cost-saving amendments. So again, I'm going to have us hold off on just all like free-flowing amendments, please, and focus on amendments that will save the city costs throughout, so that we can see what we are able to save and have a visual of how much budgetary wiggle room, it's a technical term, we have. Again, after we get through cost-saving amendments, and nobody has any more, I will then open it to any amendments that may increase costs or expenditures, all right? If anybody has any, at that time, you're more than willing and able to propose said amendments, and we will then go through those to then see where the city side ends up after that. If time allows, and there's an appetite from the council, and we want to move from the city side because we feel like we have amended to the best of our ability, and then go to the school side, we can do so. But again, we need to be somewhat time conscious unless folks are willing to suspend rules. My last bit of guidance is that just like last year, I will be moving down to the podium, okay? I have a spreadsheet on my computer that will allow us to track items that are, and amendments that are proposed, and it will give us a tabulation of a variety of, things, including the amount we are over or under the tax cap, what the total budget number looks like compared to last year, the tax rate impact to the, normal taxpayers, that whole thing, right? We will see that in a minute. I ask that you bear with me, because I will be typing things in live. So please just give me a little bit of patience when you make your amendment so I can put it in. Then we'll see it. Then we'll go through the normal amendment acceptance or denial process. Are those things clear? Okay, great. Give me a minute to get set up, please. I'm not bringing my gavel. Even a chair, look at that.
Thank you. I feel much better now.
One of the reasons why I've never supported big box stores, having worked for big box stores, they build specifically to avoid tax. With removable rates.
This is where we have our technical difficulties. I know. My instincts would be like, Sal. No pressure. You got it right.
We can. You heard the call.
Oh, I mean, I'm fine using this. I'm fine using it. I have that. It normally works, and I've used it on this exact thing before, so I don't know if I'm just on the wrong thing, but it's fine. This chair will do fine if I can get in. Oh, I am. You didn't want to watch me log in. Unless you did. All right. All right, we are back. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. All right, so just a quick explanation of the spreadsheet. Again, we're doing cost-saving measures first. Spreadsheet, what I'm going to be looking for from you is page number, the department, the account number. If you want to give a little description, you can, and what you're changing it from and what you're changing it to, and that should allow us to reflect the change. Down below, which fortunately is just not big enough to fit, we've got some other things we can jump back and forth to that will show us essentially, the change of our expenditures over or below tax cap, all that stuff. We can go through it as we need. So what I'll be looking for first, again, are amendments related to cost savings. Are there any amendments related to cost savings from councilors? Councilor Witham?
It's a question for either the city manager or finance director before I
Please
take a dive off the deep end of the pool here. And I guess I'm looking to make a consideration of funding Coast Bus in full. We did that this year, both through a combination of general fund tax dollars and a balance that we took action on later in the year through a supplemental appropriation using money from the Municipal Transportation Fund. For those here in the public, the Municipal Transportation Fund is a $5 surcharge on your motor vehicle registration that goes in to fund municipal transportation projects of which Coast qualifies. I guess, Scott or Bob, can we use that Municipal Transportation Fund in a similar way this year? And could that be reflected as a budget revenue stream to offset that cost?
Yeah, you could do that, and we could anticipate that. It would take further action by the city council via resolution, actually release that money, but certainly you could do that as
But we could show that as a revenue source at this point in time.
Yes, you can.
So I'm not exactly sure of the page number here, Your Honor, but I'd like to recommend that we utilize an additional $42,000 from the Municipal Transportation Fund as revenue. And again, I project using that ultimately as an additional cost center element on page C8 with regard to Coast. I'll get to that later, apparently.
And I have a question, Your Honor.
Give me 1 sec. All right, and we said we didn't know exactly what page. That, Director Smith, would that go under our revenue section, which would, I'm assuming, be capital reserve funds or use of, transfer in?
Yeah, transfer in, exactly.
Thank you. Just write that in here. Okay, great. Want to make sure that I reflected it? Yes. Okay. You had a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. And my question is to the amendment to Council Witham. Does that mean that every year we wouldn't have to budget that revenue would automatically go in? Is that what you're saying? That revenue would automatically pay for Coast Bus?
I am talking about it for this year only.
Only. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So we have the motion on the table is to utilize $42,000 from the Municipal Transportation Fund and add that as a capital reserve fund transfer in on the revenue section of the budget. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Goodwin. All right, motion for the council is to amend the budget to include this $42,000 of additional revenue from the Municipal Transportation Fund. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Vincent, and then.
Thank you. So that doesn't change anything on the numbers because the money is already there, for folks that are watching.
It does change. It changes.
It does.
The amount of money we're withdrawing and putting towards. So it's $42,000 less dollars we need to pull from taxes to pay for this.
That's what I meant. Thank you.
Councilor Parity Catanzaro.
Yes, I will be supporting this amendment. I think we have previously used this municipal transportation fund for Coast's additional requests for funding, and I think it's just cleaner, obviously, to do it now during the budget cycle. So I will be supporting.
Great, thank you. Other comments by councilors? Councilor Witham.
Yes, thank you. And again, I'm forecasting here. The FY26 proposed Coast bus service line item is $177,778. Their request was $220,509, roughly in excess of $42,000.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Other comments by councilors? Again, if you're in favor of the amendment, you'll state by saying yes. If you are opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilor Witham.
Hold on, I think we have a clarification from the Finance Director.
Go ahead.
I'm a little confused because I think your intent is also to increase the Coast bus from 177 to the 220.
Correct.
Correct, not just use it as a revenue source. You're just matching it up.
Correct, so it's going to wash at the end of the day.
It'll be a wash. So
Yep.
So you don't gain nothing.
there's two.
Right. At this point, I want to be clear, though. I'm looking for
The two different
revenue-specific
amendments.
changes. I will hope, if it's okay with you, accept the coast change when we get to that section. Is that amenable?
Yeah, he wants to break it into two different
Okay,
votes.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. I just want to make sure. No, you're great. You're good. Don't worry. I just wanted to make sure you were intending that too.
That's the intent.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Sorry. Other discussion before we go to the motion? Okay. Again, as I stated, if you're in favor of the amendment, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilor Witham.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
No.
Gibson.
No.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
All right. The amendment is accepted. All right. Are there other cost-saving measures? Yes. Councilor Goodwin.
Page C86.
D86. Follow along. Encourage others with budgets to follow along.
Curbside recycling, account number 45446.
All right, 1 second. So that's in. Okay, this is solid waste. What was the number again?
45446.
Okay.
And it is currently proposed at $334,000. We have been informed that the actual negotiation for that contract came in $40,000 less than that number, so we can reduce that line by $40,000, which would bring it down to $294,000.
Second.
Thank you. Again, the motion before council, or excuse me, motion for the amendment before council is to reduce the curbside recycling line item on page C86, which is account number 45446, by $40,000 down to $294,000. Seconded by Councilor Parity Catanzaro. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Witham.
Thank you. I believe, Scott, this is in response to the new contract that we're looking to sign with Waste Management for the next like 7 years.
Yes, that's correct. When the budget was crafted, we were estimating an 18% increase and came in at a little shy of 8.
Right. And so, again, important to council just to recognize that this will require further council action with regard to ratification of that contract. So one begets the next, to use that terminology.
Important clarification. Thank you. Yes, Councilor Vincent.
Thank you, Your Honor. And this is a no-brainer. It's over the amount, so we're just going to collect the $40,000. So I'm in favor also.
Thank you. Other comments by councilors? Discussion? Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of the amendment, you'll say by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll say by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Goodwin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Witham.
Yes.
The amendment is accepted. Other cost-saving amendments? Any other? Councilor Goodwin.
C30. Item office machine software maintenance.
Mm-hmm. 30.
So this is the, while you're data entering, I'll ramble. This is the smart government permitting software. So this is a new software that the Planning and Development Office has to enable online permitting, which will greatly increase our efficiency with permitting. It has a $21,002. What did I say? Yeah, sorry, $21,020 budget. And while an important item, I am hoping that we can fund that from the cable fund for this year.
Great. So.
And I will second that.
That might be a revenue one similar to the.
Yeah, so I'm going to actually turn it over to Director Scott Smith, if that's okay, or City Manager, whoever can answer best, about where this might best be placed in our budget to fix this particular line item. So again, just to reiterate the intention, it's to pay for this line item with cable funds that we already have.
Yeah, I think the cleanest way to do this would be, you can do it in two folds if you want, but continue with the motion that you're making, but then also amend the cable budget and increase it by a comparable amount, just so we have that identified. It's very similar to like when you were doing a supplemental appropriation and using cable funds.
Can I amend my motion?
Of course.
Can I amend my motion to increase the cable fund by the same amount? Yes.
And I'll second that.
Great. Let me just add that in. So this line, yes, City Manager Belmore, go ahead.
Yeah, small matter, but there's $500 for GIS permitting software that's included in here. I don't know if the intent was to also include that.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Good clarification. So 21,020. This will go down to 0. And then I want to make sure I'm reflecting it being pulled from the cable fund. I don't need to actually add that to the spreadsheet accounts for that, correct?
The cable fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it under.
21,000. You don't necessarily hear the way your spreadsheet is set up because it's going to look like you're adding money to the budget.
Right.
That 21,000 has no impact on the tax rate or the tax cap.
Got it.
But the reverse, the negative 21, you'll want to do for the rest.
Right. Okay. So I've removed it here, which gives us the negative 21. Sorry for everyone watching. I just want to make sure it accurately reflects in our
tracker.
Yeah. So make sure that the over and below is accurately reflecting it as well as this. So
yes,
by having it here, it shows it being removed. Do I need to put a monetary value in the revenue side, or will that have it just balance out?
Put it on the revenue.
Okay. We'll just call it cable fund. Sure this works. Going from. I want to make sure I have fund. Find that later.
What do you need, Matt?
I was looking for the page number, but that's for the actual cable fund. But that's
C30.
C120 is the cable fund page.
Ah, yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so yeah, I think I just double accounted for it. That's my fear down here.
Yeah. I think it was right before, even though.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, just so we don't double account for it, I don't want to give people, you see what I'm saying, Director Smith?
Yes.
I think I double accounted for it. All right, so the amendment, just to clarify, is to remove from page C30, line item 47200, and to then have that included in the cable fund section of the budget on C120.
Correct.
And again, the reason it's reflected as such up here, just for everyone watching, so that we don't double account for it, but by using cable funds, we're not pulling from the taxpayers' pockets to be able to fund this service, which is an online permitting software. Just want to make that clear. So we had a a motion made by Councilor Goodwin. I can't remember if we had a second. I just want to make Councilor Vincent. Thank you. All right. Discussion. Further discussion.
Just for clarification for the audience, these funds are essentially savings accounts, and then we have different categories of savings accounts. So there's a cable fund, a transportation fund, a general fund. So we can tap into these when times are tough to minimize tax impact.
Thank you. Other discussion. Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of the amendment, you'll say it by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll say it by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Goodwin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Witham.
Yes.
Great. Amendment is accepted. Other cost-saving measures. Yes, Councilor Parity Catanzaro.
Page C90. That is in section Other Expenses, page C90, and then the detail is on C91. When we went through the workshop, it was noted that we can prepay these leases so as to take them out of the taxpayer-funded portion of the budget. So I don't know what the cleanest way to do this, but I was going to add that 427,863, the use of fund balance to reduce taxes on page C2.
Great. So it's
all of
page
them.
C.
Yes. So all four.
four.
So it's 49309, 49315, 49323, and 49341. Under other expenses, capital leases, 427,863.
And so, again, I'm going to turn it over to Director Smith, if that's okay. Do you think the best way to recognize this change would be through an increase in the general fund line item rather than removing any of these from the budget?
Yeah, you can't remove them. I think when she mentioned in her motion just to increase the use of fund balance, that's effectively what you're doing. You're not really prepaying these. You're just using fund balance as opposed to the tax rate to support them for this year. So,
Okay, got
so
it.
just by making a motion to increase the use of fund balance by the 427 would be sufficient.
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Councilor Barry to pay for lease
I have a
purchase
comment.
items. Yep, 1 second. Right.
Question?
Yep, 1 second, please. Give me a minute. Just want to clean this all up. This was Goodwin. You did this right. Okay.
The
so,
point of
again. 1 second.
thank you.
please. 1 second. Motion for the council is to amend the use of fund balance to increase it to, or by, excuse me, increase it by $427,863. Motion made by Councilor Parity Catanzaro, seconded by Councilor Barry. Yes, Councilor Vincent.
Thank you, Your Honor. So let's just have some clarification here, point of clarification that this will not be a recurring balance every year. from fund balance, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is a one-time payment which will be worth $427,863. It will not reoccur next year. So we'll pay this off with fund balance, which will give us this balance to play with, correct?
If we, it will, these are this year's leased items, so it's paying off this year's leases with this money.
With fund balance.
Fund balance.
In return, the $427, $4,278.63 is money that it's taken from somewhere else. So this is actually what we can put onto the money that we've saved.
Correct.
So this is money gained.
This is money gained. Again, if we look down below, right now we are
It's like
under
using
the
our
tax-
savings account.
We are under the tax cap by $530-ish thousand. We've been able to save $530,000. Other discussion.
I just look at this as we're getting it off so we don't have to keep paying it. So that's kind of how I'm looking at this. To your point, yes, we are saving that money. It's coming from a different area, but it saves us from having to do it again.
Thank you.
Which in this budget, we're
Hold
not
on, I
using.
want to make sure you're recognized. Councilor
Okay,
Witham
sorry.
did have his hand before you.
As I generally have apprehension about aggressive use of undesignated fund balance. It is if you go after that year after year after year, eventually your piggy bank, for lack of a better way to describe it, becomes untenable. So we've got to be careful about this. I've always viewed the undesignated fund balance as being something used for emergencies, tough times, unpredicted events. I think this will perhaps go into that bucket. But again, if we're now, this would bring us to like 2.4 million use of fund balance this year. If next year it's 2.8 million of fund balance, the following year it's 4. Eventually, there is no undesignated fund balance left, right? So, and then to sustain your budget, you now need to raise that through general taxation. So, this is a calculated risk, but I think one worth making in this time.
Thank you. Councilor Vincent, would you like to go now? I apologize. I just want to make sure. You did.
Marty, I think Marty had it.
We have Councilor Pepin. Councilor Gibson also had his hand too. So
I just asked, I know when we have our budget audited, what percentage does that give us with the deduction of?
Good question.
Well, I think we talked about this the other day. It'll bring us down to about 10%, but that's before we close the books for year end. So there should be some that will go back into it. But if you look at it at a snapshot today, it'd be roughly 10%.
And so we'd like to stay within 5 to 17%, correct? Councilor Gibson, then Councilor Vincent. Go ahead.
Okay, so the fund balance is replenished by leftovers in the general fund from the previous year.
Yeah, when you close the book, it's just underspending expenditures and excess revenues. If you have those, that goes into the general fund.
Okay. In general, how much does that, do you know?
It's inconsistent from year to year. A lot of it depends, frankly, more on your revenue side and what's been happening on the revenue side than the expenditure side, because you control that a little bit differently. So.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Vincent?
Thank you. I think the most important thing here is this, is that we stay within the limits of what we can borrow, correct?
Yeah.
The bonds.
Well, it's just, yeah, that's a different issue. But here is just within our internal policy.
Right. And the biggest thing about this is if we used it to say, if the tax rate, for an example, was $1 and we want to take 400,000 and put it in, that happens again next year. In this case, it does not happen. It's a one-time use only. Am I correct? It's a one-time use only. It doesn't reoccur next year because that's just a one-time lease payment.
Yeah, ultimately that's...
I understand that, but it's not reoccurring.
Well, that will always be up to the council.
Right.
But these capital leases that exist, they will exist next year. You'll have to pay for those next year also.
Exactly.
Other discussion? All right, seeing none. If you're in favor of the amendment, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Parity Catanzaro,
Yes.
Micho,
No.
Witham,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Pepin,
Yes.
Vincent,
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
All right, the amendment has been adopted. Are there other cost-saving items that we have as amendments before us? Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to recap so everybody knows where we're at. The tax rate, as you have projected there, I agree with. The amount below the tax cap, I agree with. The only difference is that the total budget expenditures that you've adopted so far, to date, you've amended to, is actually $62,970,153. Yeah, because you've got to account for the increase of the cable fund. So it doesn't change your tax cap number, your tax rate impact, or your tax rate. I just wanted to be clear on what you have in terms of a total budget at the moment.
I'm going to just do a note to the side so we remember that it's plus cable. Oh, that's going to be a little, there we go, plus cable. Oh, it's going to make me do it, that plus cable fund. All right, thank you, good catch, I appreciate that. Excuse me, I lost my train of thought. Other amendments to do cost-saving measures? Other cost-saving. Give people the opportunity. I don't see any. All right, are we?
I'll go with a cost add then.
We're ready for the cost adds. All right, Counselor Witham, go ahead.
Yeah, page C8. Account 45472, very first one on that page, Coast Bus Service. Proposed is $177,778. I move that we increase that by $42,000, which would move that to, stand by. $219,778.
Thank you. Let me just finish typing this in.
I welcome anybody to double check my math. I have big fat
I just
fingers.
did. You're fine.
Getting thumbs up.
Is 4, 5, 4, 7.
My high school teacher, John Cummings, would be proud. I know. Sorry, Cummings.
All right. All right, I think I've got it all in. Okay, so the motion before us is to amend on page C8, line item 45472, Coast Bus Service, from $177,778 to $219,778. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Parity Catanzaro. Discussion. Seeing no discussion.
I have some discussion.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Last year, they came before us, not once, but twice, and we gave them the money that they wanted the second time because I don't know if they had issues with what was going on there, and we gave it to them. I think what we've given them is enough. We have the school crying for more money. I think maybe it'd be so suited better there. They've always been able to work it out. So I'm going to be voting no.
Thank you. Councilor Witham?
Thank you. Last year, Coast Bus, we did not fund at their request, and they came to us sometime during the course of the year to say that if we could not fund to the full request, they would have to make alterations to their service delivery here in the city, at which time we decided to utilize the Municipal Transportation Fund. I'm just cutting to the chase and doing the same thing this year versus having to clean it up midstream. We heard from Rad Nichols from Coast Bus, the executive director, on Saturday about ridership here in Somersworth. It is extremely high. We have a high ridership. We heard during public comment that we need to be mindful of all of the folks here in the community. That includes those that do not drive cars, those that are disabled, and this service provides for that. It is not a service that I utilize, but for those people that do, it brings them to get groceries. It brings them to the doctors. It's an essential, I hate to say it, but it's an essential service.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, you had a comment.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Coast Bus is an integral part of the community. A lot of people do use it, and as Councilor Witham said, the ridership is up. I think it's important for us to continue that relationship with them, so I will be in favor of this.
Thank you. Other councillor comments? Councillor Vincent, then Perry Canzero.
I'm not going to win this argument. I'm going to lose, but I just want to say that money comes and goes in this council all the time. It always money seems to appear, but you're going to fund it. I just think that we did it last year that way. Why can't we do it again this year? Just to make sure that we have the money in the end. But you can do what you need to do. I'm only one person. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry Canzero.
Yes, I'm supporting this because, as we know from our discussions last year and how it played out, we will be losing either stops on the bus or the frequency of the bus, which greatly impacts people's ability to get to work. And what I have heard from constituents is they're asking for more bus stops, which we certainly can't do, even under what they've requested. So I don't want to impact the bus service any further. So I'll be in support.
Thank you. Other councillor comments? Seeing none, if you are in favor of the amendment, you'll say by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll say by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
No.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Right, the amendment is accepted. Other cost increasing items. Is that a hand, Councillor Goodwin?
Yes, it is.
Councillor Goodwin, you are
I'm
recognized.
just trying to find the page. C96. The master plan, account number 49162.
49, 1 second. In the wrong spot.
So, as the mayor gets updated on his sheet here, we have not had a comprehensive master plan update in well over 10 years at this point. Because of budgetary constraints, those master plans cost upwards of $200,000 or more. We have decided in the last couple of years to do an incremental approach, so doing one chapter a year, around a cost around $25,000. We funded that last year.
Number again, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
C96. C96. Thank you. I apologize.
Yeah. So we funded that last year. We have had a combination of grant money that has been received that has enabled us to do an additional chapter this last year as well. It was not in the budget this year, given the tightness of the budget. However, I think it is absolutely critical that we keep investing in our planning efforts, given the tremendous development pressure that the city is under, given the housing crisis and all of the work that the Mayor's Housing Task Force is doing on that front, and given the fact that we will soon have a new city manager and having them engage in updating the master plan that they will be empowered to enact, I think is a really important step to get those people, that person onboarded, and for the city to continue to move forward.
I think I might have missed the amount you'd like to change it to.
Sorry, 25,000. From 0 to 25,000.
Thank you. All right, so the amendment before us is to change on page C96, line item 49162, the master plan from 0 to 25,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Cameron. Discussion. Yes, Councillor Perry Canzero.
Yeah, 2 points on why I'm supporting this is one, that we did hear that we would have capacity to do this next spring. So obviously it's not something we would want to fund unless we had capacity to do it. And number 2 is that it looks like by my notes, we've done housing, natural resources and lands. I can't read my notes, something and transportation. And the next one up is economic development, which I think is really, really critical for all the reasons pointed out.
Other discussion? Yes, Councillor Barry.
I'm very of similar mind that my biggest concern was capacity, but after hearing that our city staff believes that they have the capacity, and that we got a little bit ahead. I don't want to see us lose momentum. I don't know if I'll feel the same next year, but right now I would like us to keep going forward and get some of these resolutions out there and to keep moving forward on it.
Thank you. Other discussion? All right, seeing none. If you're in favor of the amendment, you'll say by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll say by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Goodwin?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Pepin?
No.
Vincent?
No.
Gibson?
No.
Parity Catanzaro?
Yes.
Michaud?
Yes.
Witham?
Yes.
Right, amendment is adopted or accepted, excuse me. Other cost increasing items. Yes, Councilor Parity Catanzaro.
Yes, page C8. It didn't make it into our printed version here, but the Chamber of Commerce, the Somersworth Chamber community, had put in a request for $10,000. This was separate from a discussion around an MOU with a bigger partnership, but I would like to amend this page to include $10,000 for Chamber.
All right, so I just want to make sure this is reflected. So on C8, the motion is to increase the community support section by $10,000 to add a line item for the Somersworth Chamber of Commerce. Is there a second? All right, seconded by Councilor Goodwin. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Parity Catanzaro.
Yes, just to explain that a little further, I think we heard a lot on Saturday about all of the work that the Chamber has done in the last year to really add value to the city, not just with helping our small businesses, but also increasing people's awareness of all the things that are happening in our city. And as we no longer have a full-time person focused on economic development, I think it's really critical.
Thank you. Other discussion. Yes, Councilor Goodwin.
I agree with those statements, and I think that I've renewed faith in the chamber under their current executive director, Bonnie, who's been doing a fantastic job at increasing new membership and engagement and events, and I think it's important for us to reinvest and rebuild that relationship with the chamber.
Thank you. Other discussion, Councilor Michaud.
Thank you. Is this just a one-time deal, or is this going to be reoccurring year in, year out on the budget?
They would have to reapply next year with a new proposal, just like any other community support organization that's listed in the budget.
The reason I'm asking is some constituents reached out to me after they watched the budget meeting last Saturday morning, and they're questioning the use of taxpayers' dollars to fund this. And I can see what they're saying. I have no problem in assisting, but I want to make sure that if we give them something, to make sure it's not reoccurring. If they reapply, that's fine, but I'm just letting people know that people have reached out for me. And
thank you. Other discussion? Yes, Councilor Witham.
Thank you. Certainly things are subject to change, and I'd ask the manager to jump in if my understanding is incorrect. But typically the community support section of the budget, which we're discussing right now, the city manager builds out based upon funding from the prior year. So it's sort of like automatic plug and play. Now, we are getting a new city manager. If he adopts the same practice, that 10,000 would appear next year. But there's no guarantee the new manager will adopt a similar practice. May, right? I agree with the current energy of the current executive director in her championing businesses, not only here in Somersworth, but in the region. She did assure us on Saturday that she'll be reaching out to the other communities within the chamber, which I love to hear also. And I want to support the chamber. I need to think a little bit longer about the number. Kind of the crawl, walk, run theory here. 10,000 just is a big jump right out of the gate. Maybe would consider a smaller amount and then next year funding it higher, just kind of gradually stepping in. But I need to ponder that a bit more.
Other discussion? All right. Yes, Councilor Gibson.
I said the same thing. I know the chamber's going to be important. I know it's something that we possibly need. I'd just like to have a smaller amount than this right now.
Thank you. Councilor Gibson?
Third to Mr. Woodham.
Gotcha. Thank you. Councilor Vincent?
Ditto.
Councilor Parity Catanzaro.
I'd be willing to amend my amendment if other folks want to share the amount that they would look for. as
Like
opposed
half
to
that,
just
5?
5, okay. For the sake of time, instead of voting one down and proposing another, can I amend my amendment to
Sure
be
can, if
5,000?
the second is okay with it. All right, second sounds good. We'll go down to 5. Okay. All right, other discussion now that it's at 5. Councilor Cameron.
I think that 5 is reasonable to get started with. I do understand Bonnie has done a lot of work, and I appreciate that, and building on increments as the years progress. But thank you for all you do, Bonnie.
Thank you. Other discussion? Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of the amendment, you'll say by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll say by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Parity Catanzaro?
Yes.
Michaud?
Yes.
Witham?
Yes.
Goodwin?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Pepin?
Yes.
Vincent?
Yes.
Gibson?
Yes.
All right, amendment is accepted. Any other cost increasing amendments?
I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
Same page, C8. Item 45493, Stratford Meals on Wheels. The day we heard the community come and talk about everything that they were doing for our community, it did not set right with me that we were funding some others in full, but not our community Meals on Wheels. And the reason this does not sit well with me, it's just an extra 500. Sorry, should have said that.
That's
Bringing
okay.
it up to the full ask of 3,000. They do a lot for our elderly. They're not just there to bring hot meals, but they're there doing companion. I know we had a full discussion about this, but I don't think it's that much to add to the budget to bring them up to their full ask.
Seconded by Councilor Cameron. So again, just the motion before council is to increase on page C8 under community support, line item 45493, Stratford Meals on Wheels, from 2,500 to 3,000. Councilor Cameron. Other discussion. Councilor Vincent.
Thank you. There's no doubt about that Meals on Wheels does a great job. I praise them, okay? But right now, they're funded. And what we give is kind of like extra. Kind of like you get a little gravy with the mashed potatoes, you know what I mean? Not to be serious, not to be sarcastic, but we keep picking away at this, and our school is over there going, hey, don't forget us. I'm just trying to be realistic. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of the amendment, you'll say by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll say by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Barry?
Yes.
Pepin?
No.
Vincent?
No.
Gibson?
No.
Parity Catanzaro?
Yes.
Michaud?
No.
Witham?
No.
Goodwin?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
And the amendment fails. All right, any other cost increasing amendments? Yes, Councilor Parity Catanzaro.
Staying on the same page, Thriving Roots Daycare had requested 7,500. Reflecting the comments here tonight, I'll just offer that we fund them at 1,250 for the first year.
What was the number again?
Page C8.
What was it?
It's under new requests for fiscal year, so it doesn't have a number assigned yet, but it's right above. Well, sorry, it's right below Sweetser. They had requested 7,500. My amendment is 1,250.
All right, so the amendment before us is to increase, create a new line item for Thriving Roots Daycare on page C8 and to fund them at $1,250. A second, I need a second. A second, all right, seeing none, not have a motion, apologies.
Can we still comment?
No.
You can second for discussion.
I could, but I'm not going to.
All right, other cost
Sorry, I just-
increasing amendments.
I don't think
Okay, going once,
subsidy for a day
going twice,
appropriate for a city.
3 times. Okay, so at this point, I will open it up to any city-related amendments one final time before, if you are amenable, we will turn it over to the school side. Any other city-related amendments? Is this city-related? No? Okay. Okay, seeing none. If we're gonna do a recess, before we do a recess, if we want to stay, we need to decide that. So,
Motion that we suspend council rules to extend beyond 10 o'clock.
Second.
all right, we have a motion to suspend council rules beyond 10 o'clock, seconded by Councilor Vincent. Again, I think I can't remember if it's debatable or not, but let's not debate, you guys. Let's just vote. If you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. All opposed? All right, we now have the votes to go beyond 10. Let's do a 5-minute recess, please.
Set a timer.
At this point, I will recuse myself. I will still type into the spreadsheet. Hope everyone's okay with that. But I will not participate in discussions on the school side, and I will turn it now over to Deputy Mayor David Witham. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now on to the school portion of the budget. Are there any amendments from city councilors? Councilor Gibson, you're recognized.
I'd like to make a motion to table the school budget, to table the budget at this time.
Motion made by Councilor Gibson to table the ordinance on the city budget. Is there a second?
I will second it just for conversation.
It's a non-debatable motion. Is there a second on Councilor Gibson's motion to table? Seeing no second, is there any motion on an amendment to the school portion of the budget? Councilor Goodwin.
I would like to make a motion to increase the tax cap budget by $458,894.
Motion made by Councilor Goodwin to increase the school department budget by $458,894. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Parity Catanzaro. Discussion. Councilor Vincent, you're recognized.
Thank you. So what does this do? What does this do? Somebody please explain to me, either from the school system or somewhere. What does this
deflect the
do?
question initially to Director Smith.
Yeah, what does this do for their request?
Just to the overall request?
Yeah.
It puts you right back to where you started. So you're tax cap compliant. You've basically just shifted money from one side over to the other. So
What do they get extra?
$458,894.
And just for the sake of what they were requesting, I guess I could find it here. Can I ask the superintendent, please?
Without objection, we'll allow the school superintendent to address the council.
Thank you very much.
Superintendent Shea, please.
And I may continue?
You may.
First of all, I just want to say it was a great getting together with you this afternoon. You're a stand-up guy, and I'm really looking forward to working with you more. You really impressed me today for the half hour I met with you. What does this do for your budget now? Could you just simplify, please?
Yeah, we're looking at, if we don't come in at the principal's recommended budget, but over the tax cap budget, we're looking at $1 million in cuts, $130,000 in non-personnel and non-program, and $130,000 in non-personnel and non-program cuts, and $900,000 in personnel and program cuts. So we would imply this entire amount, about $460,000, is that correct? Towards the $900,000 in personnel cuts. So basically halving the 10 positions that we're looking to cut, and we bring back about half of what we have there, and we would lose the $130,000 in non-personnel and non-program cuts.
A follow-up. Thank you. So we know that in years past with the aid from the state, sometimes they've been on, but sometimes they've been off. Is there any chances that they're going to be off, meaning you're going to get more money?
We won't know till November. I can't speculate on that, and we will come back to the city council in November if we get money back and request it then, but we don't know. Honestly.
One more question, please.
You may.
Does this come closer and suffice the school department a little bit?
I'm very appreciative of this difficult conversation that's here. I would stand pretty firm on the superintendent's proposed budget. keeping services flat and programming flat where it currently is. We're in the midst right now, I didn't mention this in my opening comments, of looking at a strategic plan and resetting what our purpose and our vision and our goals are. Putting an assessment system in place so we can report regularly on how we're doing on attendance, how we're doing on learning, being very transparent about those things, school culture as well. I'm looking forward to being back here in a year to kind of be looking, and I was brought up about having a 2, 3, 4-year plan out about how we're spending and what we're doing and where we're headed. So I can't say honestly that it's sufficient. I would have loved to have been in a place where we could have just had the money in place to do next year what we did this year. Because we looked hard at what we have. That said, I'm respectful of any dollars that you can get us above what we were originally proposing.
Thank you, and I have a question besides
1 second,
that.
just while
That's
Superintendent Shea is here, does any other counselor have a question for the superintendent while he has the podium? Not, thank you, appreciate
And a
that.
question to just general, I guess, or
Feel free, go
to
ahead.
to the finance director.
May.
So we stay within the tax cap, don't we?
Right now, you're within the tax cap. Right now, you're
Kind of got a happy medium going with the school. They got a little bit more than but not as much as they wanted. The city got a little bit on their side. So I guess we're happy.
Further discussion on the amendment. I'll just say this. As was articulated by the school superintendent and the business administrator when they presented earlier this evening, almost 4 hours ago now, if you're counting. I am. Almost all of the superintendent's budget, not the tax cap compliant budget, mind you, but the superintendent's budget, which is to maintain level funding service. If you look at the increase, most all of that increase is salaries and benefits. Benefits being health insurance and things like that, roll-ups to retirement because of increase in salaries and all of those sorts of things. And I'll remind my fellow counselors that we vote on every single teacher contract, para contract, contracts for the custodial and support staff. We vote on all of those. And the record could show that I'm wrong, but I think almost all of those votes have been unanimous by this body. So we said, and I can remember sitting right here, whenever that meeting was, when we voted on those contracts, that there is going to be a cost to those, just to recognize that we need to be mindful. It's not just, hey, this is a feel-good moment for getting a contract passed. It was needed. We wanted to make competitive contracts and all that, but there is a cost figure to that that is going to play out not only 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, right? That's what's happening. I like to keep my word. I want to back what I supported then with this budget now. You can't vote yes then and then no now. It doesn't seem to make much sense. So I support this easily. Further discussion. Councilor Parity, Catanzaro.
Yeah, I certainly support this and would support funding all of at least tier 3, which still leaves 152,686 in budget cuts. I was thinking the same thing, that we've already passed these contracts. We've basically written a check that our budget can't cash. We've already funded these, we've done all the negotiations, and especially in light of everything that was said this evening, to step back from where we are already at in our schools, I just can't imagine cutting these folks. So for this amendment, yes, I may be looking to add another amendment as well.
Further discussion. Councilor Gibson, I think you raised your hand. You're recognized.
Okay, I have to agree with Councilor Woodham about previous actions and having consequences. But on the flip side to that is, I don't know how many people foresaw where we would be right now in inflation whacking everybody. the assessments going on everybody. I voted for those contracts, okay? But I did not foresee the economics, as well as a state government that has continued to refuse to stop shifting the burden to the local communities and step up and do what is right. I support this amendment. I want to give what we can, but I can't, in all honesty, say that I am comfortable going over the tax cap. Too many people that I have talked to are facing dire circumstances financially, which last year, I don't know how many of us really foresaw that there would be older people like stood up here and talked to us about how this is impacting them. And I can't, in good conscience, add to the burden any more than we already have with the higher assessments on the citizens, which are the people footing the bill. Thank you.
Further discussion on the Goodwin amendment, which is to add $458,894 to the school department bottom line. Councillor Barry, then Councillor Cameron.
I was just going to say, I'm happy we're able to go a little bit more for our school. I don't want to see any programs cut. I don't want to see us losing good teachers that have chosen to be here. I know it's hard to be competitive in this day and age with wages on both the city as well as the school, because if you want good people, you have to pay them. Otherwise, they're going to go elsewhere. And then to bring in more, you have to get them up, and you spend more money doing that. I will support this, but I think I will second that I am not going to be in favor of an increase to the tax cap. And the only reason for me specifically, not that we can't use it all across our city, school, city, everywhere, it's more that we just did it last year and I don't have an appetite to do it again to our city.
Just to be clear, this does bring us right to the tax cap. It doesn't bring us over. Councillor Cameron, you're recognized.
Thank you. I am in favor of this as well. We are able to give something back to the school. I mean, it may not be everything that you want, but it is something. And I'm very happy with that, and we did not go over the tax cap, so thank you.
Councillor Vincent, you're recognized.
Thank you. So I've always been a firm believer of what are we trying to do? We're always in this big hurry at the 11th hour. I think that we should pass this right here now. And I think we should table it and come back when we're fresh. I'm not a big rush this process. We got plenty of time. We might be able to find more money for the school and be able to do something different. But to rush this process, and you know what? Our past mayor was the same way, wanted to rush the process every time. When you're dealing with millions of dollars, I don't think you should. I think we should pass this, and this is just my 2 cents. We should pass this and go home and come back again, fresh. Thank you for listening to me.
Councillor Michoud, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to remind fellow councilors, last year's budget season, the school board came in front of us. They came up with 3 tiers. We funded 2 out of the 3. Councilors sat here and asked, will anybody get laid off if we fund 2 out of the 3 tiers? And they said, no, nobody will get laid off. Turns around, I hear, I don't know how many got laid off, but people got laid off. Then superintendent came in front and told the person that's getting laid off, sorry, I cannot keep you because I have to let you go because the city council did not fund me enough money to support you. They laid people off and blamed us, which we did pay enough money to make sure nobody got laid off. So I'm kind of judging with this superintendent. I trust him. Hasn't just got here. Doesn't give me any reason why to doubt him, but I'm questioning from last year when they said that no one's going to get laid off. They got laid off, and they point the finger to us saying we're at fault because we didn't give them enough money.
Again, I don't know what was there, and I'm not involved in those particular conversations. I've not heard those conversations. I will say that I am prepared to pass the budget here tonight. Councilor Vincent, you're right. We're dealing with millions of dollars here that we've had a chance to look over and ask questions on since March 15th, so almost a month. We've had workshops, we've had get-togethers, we've had plenty of time to talk with city staff. And here's what I also know, that if we were to table this budget, there are people that are now on pins and needles about what's next in terms of my job, in terms of my classroom, in terms of my impact on my taxes. Those are all real issues as well, and those are equally as important. So I'm prepared to pass this tonight now that we're this close. Further discussion, someone had their hand raised over here. Councilor Vincent, you're recognized.
Okay, so if we do pass this tonight, right, does the rest of the meeting continue, or do we just table the whole meeting? How does it work?
That would be up to the mayor at that time. Right now, we're discussing an amendment on the school department bottom line. So I don't want to forecast that. Okay. Further discussion on the Goodwin amendment to add additional $458,894 to the school department bottom line. Seeing none, if you're in favor of the motion, you will signify by saying yes when the city clerk calls the roll. If you are not, you will signify by saying no. City clerk, you're recognized.
Counselor Goodwin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
No.
Witham.
Yes. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the school department bottom line? Councilor Parity Catanzaro, you're recognized.
As a point of process, if I were to make an amendment to add more, does that go immediately to an override of a tax cap vote to see if we have 60%?
No, the amendment is a majority vote. It would be the vote on the overall budget that requires the 6 votes, supermajority to override, if you're following that.
Okay. I'd like to make an amendment to add 424,106. That dollars. Just
School department bottom line,
$424,000.
Councilor Parity Catanzaro is requesting to, has made a motion to add an additional $424,106
Correct.
to the school department bottom line. Is there a second on that? Seconded by Councilor Goodwin. Discussion.
Yeah, just to clarify that number, that came from the bottom of tier 3. So in essence, I'm motioning to not cut the jobs in the CTC program. That would be my goal. It sounds like I probably might not get it, but I've got to see where the votes are. So.
Further discussion on the motion. Seeing no further discussion, if you're in favor of the motion to add an addition, sorry, I don't see you way down there.
I
My
know,
apologies.
I'm a little bit out. Just quick further discussion. I understand the ask, and I don't know if maybe we could ask the school superintendent again, but I understand the tiers, but we don't know for a fact, like, they could change up the tiers of what's being cut and different things with what we've already funded. That's kind of where my head is.
It is true that all we are proving is the bottom line, but tradition for the 15 years I've been on council is that the proposed cuts or adds based upon their information, the school department is generally, as far as I know, has always held true to those standards. Superintendent Shea, I don't know if you have anything further to add.
Okay. I mean, that breaks my heart to hear that things couldn't be switched around, because I don't want to see any programs cut. I've already said that. I don't want to see any teachers cut. I think that's where, if we can, we should have that money go. But again, I know I don't have that. Unfortunately, I know I've already said this, that I feel like this would go to a tax cap override, and I just don't have the appetite tonight for that, unfortunately, but.
Question for Finance Director Smith, if I may. We are at the tax cap right now, which is, what, 57-cent increase on the tax rate?
Correct.
So with this additional amount, it would be over the tax cap. What would the tax rate increase be beyond the 57 cents?
An additional 22 cents. So you'd be at 1949, 79-cent increase.
Councilor Gibson, you're recognized.
I'm not going to repeat all of what I said previously, but there is no way I'm going to vote for an amendment that overrides the tax cap. The only way that I would support something like this, if the council had the inclination to pull from the reserve. But I'm not going to vote to override.
Further discussion, Councilor Vincent, did I see your hand?
Yeah, ever since I've sat in this seat, I've never done a tax cap override. I know that we've done a tax cap override, but with that we knew we were going to get the money back. But I cannot override because that's what my constituents want me to do.
Further discussion. Seeing none, if you're in favor of the amendment motion, you will signify by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll signify by saying no. City Clerk, if you wouldn't mind, please call the roll.
Counselor Parity Catanzaro?
Yes.
Michaud?
No.
Witham?
Yes.
Goodwin?
Yes.
Cameron?
No.
Barry?
No.
Pepin?
No.
Vincent?
No.
Gibson?
No.
The amendment fails. Any further amendments to the school department bottom line? Councilor Goodwin, you're recognized.
I was going to make a motion to approve the budget.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilor Goodwin to approve the FY26 budget, seconded by Councilor Vincent.
Listen, they're not
Any
gonna table it.
discussion on approval of the budget as amended?
We're going to play this game on.
Your Honor, do you want to take the helm for this? Seeing none. If you're in favor of approval of the FY26 budget ordinance as amended, you will state by saying yes. If you are opposed, you will state by saying no. It does not require 6 votes, requires 5, simple majority. City Clerk, if you wouldn't mind, please call the roll.
Counselor Goodwin?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Pepin?
Yes.
Vincent? Gibson?
Yes.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro?
Yes.
Michaud?
No.
Witham?
Yes, the FY26 budget ordinance is adopted as amended.
Point of order.
Congratulations, everyone.
I'd like to make a
Councilor
motion.
Vincent?
I'd like to make a motion.
Councilor Vincent, there's nothing open for discussion, so. I'm not sure
Can't I
what the
make a motion to table everything else and then come back to another
The only
meeting?
motion that would be in order at this point in time would be a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Councilor Gibson. Discussion.
I believe we have something on the docket that is time pressing, and I'd
Well,
like to hear that if
There's a
possible.
motion on the floor.
I do think that there are some items on our agenda that we should consider acting on this evening, so I will not be supporting the motion to adjourn. Councilor Michaud, you're recognized.
My question, if we do adjourn, when does this meeting pick up again? Do we meet tomorrow night? Or we wait for another 2 weeks?
It would be our next regularly scheduled meeting unless the mayor wants to
So-
schedule a
Special
special
meeting.
meeting.
Special meeting.
Piggybacked on top of that other stuff,
Special meeting.
for that meeting.
I would already tell you, we already have a special meeting for next Monday night on another matter, so.
I am aware.
So could we piggyback it on that?
We're not having a special meeting for these items. We'll
Okay.
Continue them at our next regularly scheduled meeting if we do not go through them today.
So there is a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn. I'll wait till the city clerk to get back to her seat, and we will take a vote.
Are you going to adjourn? Huh? You going to adjourn? Oh, fuck. Okay.
I would like to, as you are, it's a short construction season. Let's get it out there. And also the CMA. the two things. I can just go right to that. So go ahead, Councilor Gibson. Sorry, the mayor's back in his seat. I am going to stop.
I was really enjoying it, actually. All right, so let me catch up. Motion to adjourn, seconded. We're in discussion. Councilor Gibson.
Based on what Councilor Berry said, can we amend the motion to adjourn to follow any time-sensitive business?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we should. I think we should. If we want to do things, we shouldn't have a motion to adjourn, and we shouldn't be voting for it. So if we have some items we'd like to do, vote no for this motion, and then we can have another motion to adjourn later on. Councilor Michoud.
Thank you. I urge everybody to vote now, this and then. Let's go forward and get this done.
I'll retract my motion.
We are here. Let's get it done and over with.
All right. Who seconded?
Gibson.
Gibson, do you accept?
Yes.
Okay. We are back. All right. Thank you all. So, we are still technically in tabled items. I would certainly defer to the council if you
I'd like to move to remove ordinance 1525 from the table.
All right. Councilor Witham makes a motion to remove ordinance 15-25 from the table, seconded by Councilor Pepin. Motion for the council is to remove ordinance 15-25 from the table. This is a non-debatable motion. If you are in favor of removing ordinance 15-25 from the table, you'll state by saying yes. If you are opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Goodwin.
He's excused.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Sorry, Pepin.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
All right. Ordinance 15-25 has been removed. The table is now open to further amendment. Is there an amendment on ordinance 15-25?
I move for its adoption.
All right, Councilor.
I'll second that.
Pepin moves to the adoption of ordinance 15-25.
Should it be not ordinance
I know.
1525 is amended, because I think it was amended.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That you're amenable to that?
Yeah,
Thank you.
with the amendments.
So ordinance 15-25 has been moved to be adopted as amended, seconded by, I think it was Councilor Gibson?
Vincent.
Vincent, one of you. I knew it was one of you. Motion before the table is to adopt ordinance 15-25 as amended. Discussion. Councilor Berry?
I was extremely happy to find out at our last meeting that we were able to have a leash law, that we were able to add larger fines if reasonable. I'm very much in favor of everything on this, so I'm going to be going forward with it.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
Other discussion? Other discussion? Oh, Councilor Parity Catanzaro. Sorry.
Yes, I got an email from one of the folks who rose this issue who couldn't be here tonight. Unfortunately, her dog Apollo, who triggered part of this discussion, is not feeling well. So good wishes to Apollo, and I'm happy that we may pass this evening.
Great. Other discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're in favor of passing ordinance 15-25 as amended, you'll say it by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll say it by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Witham.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Ordinance 15-25 has been adopted. We will jump past 8 and 9 because we have nothing on those. We will jump past 10 because that's the mayor's report, and I got nothing else to say. I've talked a lot tonight. We'll jump to item 11, and I would entertain a motion to skip item 11. All right, we got a motion. I think technically the so moved got in first by Parity Catanzaro, seconded by Councilor Cameron. Discussion on skipping item 11. Anyone want to bundle that with item 12?
Yes.
And 13.
And 13 and 14. All right.
Amend to include
All right.
12 and 13.
Amazing. Thank you. So again, motion before the table is to skip standing committee reports, special committee reports, city manager's report, nominations, appointments, and elections, And we've already done the tabled items. Will bring us to item 15, discussion.
Your Honor, I'd like to move that we table ordinances, the ordinances listed as A, B, C, and D under agenda item 50 on unfinished.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We do have a motion before us about skipping past, but I think I'm fine with just doing without objection. How's that feel? Everyone cool?
That
with skipping
works.
Without objection, great. We're moving. The next motion is to table. Say it again. I apologize.
Ordinances 1725, 1825, 1925, and 2025.
Great. All right. So motion before us is to table ordinances 17, 18, 19, 20, 25-25. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Gibson. The non-debatable motion, if you're in favor of the motion to table ordinances 17, 18, 19, and 20-25, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Micho.
Yes.
All right. Those ordinances have been tabled. That leaves us tonight, because we are now officially in item 15 with
No, that was item 15. Brings us to 16.
16. Great. Thank you. Amazing. Brings us to item 16. That was all of them. Look at that. Item 16, which is
If there's no objection, Your Honor, I'd like to move that we waive council rules to read ordinance 2125 and all resolutions by title only.
great. Thank you. The motion before the table
Second.
is to read ordinance 21-25 and all resolutions by title only, seconded by Councilor Gibson. Discussion. Dare I? Seeing none, if you're in favor of the motion before us, you will state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Micho.
Yes.
All right, great. Motion passes. Chair recognizes the clerk for a first reading on ordinance 21-25 by title only.
Ordinance number 2125, supplemental appropriation for the purchase of election ballot counting devices.
Great, thank you. Ordinance 21-25 has been read first and second time, will remain in first reading to the next regularly scheduled meeting, at which time we'll have a public hearing. Thank you. That brings us to Resolution 46-25. Chair recognizes the clerk for a first reading on Resolution 46-25 by title only.
Resolution number 4625, to authorize the city manager to enter into a 7-year contract extensions with Waste Management of New Hampshire, Inc., for collection and disposal of municipal solid waste, municipal recycling, and wastewater treatment sludge proposal.
Great. Resolution 46-25 have been read a first time, will remain in first reading until our next regularly scheduled meeting. Councilor Witham.
Your Honor, for the next two resolutions, I'd like to move that, after reading by title only, that we move it immediately into a second reading this evening. If there's a second, I'll explain during the discussion.
Thank
Second.
you. All right, the motion is to move resolutions 47-25 and 48-25 into a second after our first reading, seconded by Councilor Gibson. Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor. These are the two items that I think are time-sensitive here this evening. We've been dealing with this section of sidewalk on High Street. It went out to bid. We had no bidders. We went back out to bid. So now we're lagging behind. We'd like to get this work awarded so that they can begin to finalize and mobilize so that we can get this work done. It's a short construction season. This is the section of High Street from West High to South Street, opposite the side we just repaired. It is a $1.4 million contract to SUR and a related companion document for engineering oversight to CMA engineers.
Thank you. Other discussion? Yes, Councilor Gibson.
I agree 100%. Let's get it done.
All right, thank you. Other discussion? All right, seeing none, if you are in favor of a second reading on resolutions 47-25 and 48-25, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Micho.
Yes.
Great, thank you. All right, Chair recognizes the clerk for a first reading on resolution 47-25 by title only.
Resolution number 4725, to authorize the city manager to contract with CMA Engineers of Portsmouth, New Hampshire to provide contract administration and inspection services for the reconstruction of the west side sidewalk on High Street and resurfacing of a section of High Street.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the clerk for a second reading on resolution 47-25.
Resolution number 4725, to authorize the city manager to contract with CMA Engineers of Portsmouth, New Hampshire to provide contract administration and inspection services for the reconstruction of the west side sidewalk on High Street and resurfacing of a section of High Street.
Thank you. Resolution 47-25, having been read a first and second time, is now open to further amendment. Councilor Gibson, do you have an amendment?
Oh, no, sorry.
If we'll look for a motion, seeing no amendment, Councilor Witham.
Yeah, move for its adoption, Your Honor.
Assuming you're doing the same thing. Seconded by Councilor Gibson. Thank you. A motion before us is to adopt Resolution 47-25. Discussion. All right, seeing none, if you're in favor of the adoption of Resolution 47-25, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Cameron. Yes. Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Party Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
All right, Resolution 47-25 has been adopted. Brings us to a first reading on Resolution 48-25. Chair recognizes the clerk for this first reading.
Resolution number 4825, to authorize the city manager to contract with SUR Construction, Inc. of Rochester, New Hampshire to resurface a section of High Street and to reconstruct the west side sidewalk on High Street from West High Street to South Street.
The chair recognizes the clerk for a second reading on Resolution 48-25.
Resolution number 4825, to authorize the city manager to contract with SUR Construction, Inc. of Rochester, New Hampshire to resurface a section of High Street and to reconstruct the west side sidewalk on High Street from West High Street to South Street.
All right, thank you. Resolution 48-25, having read a first and second time, is now open to further amendment. Seeing no amendment, chair looks for a motion on Resolution 48-25. Councilor Witham.
Move for its adoption.
Councilor Witham moves for the adoption of Resolution 48-25, seconded by Councilor Pepin. Motion before us is the adoption of Resolution 48-25. Is there discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, if you're in favor of the adoption of Resolution 48-25, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Cameron. Yes. Barry.
Yes.
Pepin.
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Yes.
Party Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 48-25 has been adopted. Chair recognizes the clerk for a first reading on Resolution 49-25 by title only.
Point of order.
Yes.
Did we skip 4625?
No, it was read by.
No, it was by title only earlier.
I thought that was 2125.
Resolution number 4925, to authorize the city manager to accept a grant from the New Hampshire Secretary of State for the purchase of election ballot counting devices.
All right, Resolution 49-25, having read first time, will be in first reading until our next regularly scheduled meeting. Brings us to item 17, which is comments by visitors. Anyone like to speak? Again, just a reminder, please have a 5-minute time limit. I will have a timer again. Again, state your name and ward in which you live. All right, thank you. You can state your name and ward in which you live.
Hi, Neil Larson, 16 Hamilton Street, Ward 1, Somersworth resident. My wife Maggie and I moved up here about 18 years ago. I'll make this pretty quick. In addition to my job, I also serve the community. I am the chair of the trustees for Forest Glade. I also volunteer as director of the Somersworth High School Jazz Band. Fantastic opportunity just to do that. But I'm up here to address Councilor Vincent's comments. Hearing them on the 17th, 3 weeks ago, not just troubling, but also bewildering. Anybody who's worked with Maggie on a professional, on a civic, on a personal level, knows that she doesn't act as a dictator. She's not heavy-handed. Comments about not playing the game, not playing by the rules. I don't know what that meant. If your game's about rubber stamping documents or whatever, propping up the status quo. Those aren't games she plays. She's about governance. She's about respect, trust, and integrity. But aside from that, aside from anything personal, that type of rhetoric, those types of comments, that doesn't have a place in this council. It really doesn't. You stand out, right? That's borderline bully. And I don't think we stand for that. And think about people, too, coming to maybe thinking about living in Somersworth. Pop on Channel 22, pop on a meeting. That's what they're going to hear. These are baseless claims. These are accusations. And I think I get why. You found out, you see one resignation letter, and then that fits your rhetoric of all of them. You don't look into any of the other ones. But that one, that's your confirmation bias. And that's what you go by. Do the homework. Do the research. You want to talk about resignations? Take a good look in the mirror, man. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you. I appreciate all the work and all the time that all of y'all have put into tonight. That means a lot to this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments by visitors this evening? Other comments by visitors? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 18, which is comments by councilors. Do I dare? Councilor Pepin, you're up first.
I'm passing.
Thank you. Councilor Vincent, you're next.
Real quick, it's not something that I wanted to do. It was brought to my attention by my constituents and other people. I have to live in this city with everybody. Like I said, it was a black eye not only for the people involved, but the city side too. I'm not a bully. I don't go after people. I just couldn't sit back and not say something. I do want to say this, and I've talked to Maggie before on the phone. Her heart and soul is definitely into the school system. And I've said that on the conversation that we had on the phone the other day. Sometimes when people are so passionate about stuff, maybe things slip. I don't know. I'm not going to debate any further. I just know that it's a sad night. And if you think I'm leaving this council chambers feeling great, I'm not, because I have a conscience also, and I'm really sorry. I didn't know what else to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gibson, you're next.
No comment.
Thank you. Councilor Parity-Canzera.
Yes, regarding the leash law, just wanted to flag that I got a question about how we're going to be notifying, and I know that letters just went out around updating for registration, so maybe that's just something that could be looked at for the next mailing that goes out to folks who have registered dogs, that we could communicate about the new leash law. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Michoud.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Councilor Witham.
Thank you. Just to close out on our budget discussion, thank you, councilors, for the civil debate about that process. We could debate all night whether we landed in a good spot or a bad spot. I say all the time that a vote in the affirmative on the budget, there are no winners and there are no losers. We don't ever get quite what we need, whether that's the school side or the city side. And taxes always go up, so that impacts our residents, young and old. It's a no-win situation, and several of my fellow councilors, in particular Councilor Goodwin, who's not here, and I wish he was, spot on that the debates that we often have in these chambers around the budget are here because it's close to home and there's nowhere else to push anything. This is the bottom rung of the ladder. To the extent that the state government continues to shirk its responsibility, to the extent that the federal government continues to shirk its responsibility, or even do less than what they're doing now, which is a fear, it makes the job here that much more difficult. So for as many people that showed up here tonight to state the case, we need to bring those voices to Concord. Again, whether or not they'll hear them, I don't know. Councilor Gibson, you're right, the landscape has changed since we voted on contracts. I agree. But I hope no one's holding out hope that our state government is going to come here and change anything anytime soon. I have zero hope. I try to be an optimistic person, but I got none there. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilor Cameron.
Just a reminder for folks, citywide cleanup is this Saturday, and we'll meet at the high school at 8:45, and I'll give out the ward locations and the supplies. But if you have any gloves, grabbers, please bring them with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Barry.
I know, last but not least, I will try to keep it brief. I wish we could fund everything. I know there's a lot for profits we didn't fund completely. I know we didn't get the school where we wanted them to be, but I will offer, if we ever do any fundraising in this city and you want to dunk a counselor, put a pie in a counselor's face, I will sign up and you can do it to me and take your frustration out. And I will be there if you need me for support in any fundraising activities. I will come. So that's it.
Love it. Thank you. Yeah. All right. That brings us to item 19, future agenda items. Just throwing it out there. Anyone have any? Great. Item 20, non-public. We will do that on Monday. And item 21 is adjournment. Councilor Vincent moves the council stand in adjournment until our next regularly scheduled meeting, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Gibson. Question for council is on adjournment. If you're in favor, you'll say by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll say by saying nay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, council is adjourned. Congratulations, everyone.